feels weird. I like rarely don't have a hat on. I'm like,
you want a hat?
No, I'm totally good.
Brand new hats.
I'm totally good.
I've started wearing them more.
Really?
You can't tell. I'm heading in your direction, my friend.
See, I was shaving my head before I started losing my hair. And I'm in the gym one day, like literally 25 years ago, and I'm sitting on the bench between sets, and I'm looking in the mirror, and there's a mirror behind me, and I'm looking at some guy who's like all balding in the back, and then I realized, I was like, holy fuck, that's me. I had no idea. I honestly didn't have any idea. I was clueless, man. No one ever said, hey, you're losing your hair back there.
I gotta be honest. I was like a little bit vain when I was younger, and it was devastating when I realized it was happening. First you go through like denial, like, no, it's not gonna happen. And then afterwards you're like, you know what, it's happening. And it didn't happen. I was working night shifts for a long time, so it was happening really fast. When I started training dogs full time, it was like, my body just, I guess, like settled down a bit and was like, hey, it's still gonna happen, but not as fast.
I wouldn't mind if it all went, but when it goes like just here and you got the George Costanza in the back, you're like, what the fuck? Can't you just go to, now I have to cut this and shave this?
So much work.
It is.
Is it going?
It is.
You always fucking do. The complexities of going bald, I've been thinking about, I'm still a little bit, I haven't given up completely. I'm like, yeah, maybe I should go to Turkey.
You don't look bad.
Not bad, but I know it's coming. Like, I see it. Like, you watch videos of yourself all the time, right?
Yeah.
You see the back.
No, I don't. I'm always in a hat. I always wear a hat.
The hat makes it happen faster, though.
Yeah, I always wear a hat. I don't like seeing the back. But my wife just bought me one of those new little shaver things. Like
the skull shaver.
Dude, it worked freaking awesome. So it gets a lot closer than a razor. I don't shave with a razor because I got like scars in my head and stuff. Or I would. But that little shaver thing, it's pretty nice, man.
Yeah, the pit bull. They call it the pit bull.
Keep it pretty short,
Good. Well, I guess we might as well formally introduce our first official guest. We already had one podcast. We were actually planning on this being our first inaugural podcast, Larry.
Nice.
It was going to be with you, but we said, you know what, we better not run this without first checking the equipment in case there's any disasters. So we did one podcast last week, but now you are the first official guest.
I'm honored.
Special guest.
I'm honored. Humbling and pressure.
Well, just bring your A game, no problems.
We'll see.
So you're up in Canada for the first time?
First time.
And you're here to do a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
So lucky us, you came like right when we just figured out our podcast stuff, and I was like, wow, Larry's coming up. So, I mean...
Yeah, it worked out good. It worked out real well. Mm-hmm.
Well, we've talked before. You guys can catch that. I posted it on the Facebook page.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, because I actually didn't see it. And then I saw it on YouTube. It was actually suggested to me. I was like... And then it's funny because I had zero memory of... Like, I know we talked, but I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
So I actually clicked on it. I started watching it. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty... Hey, again, remember, I'm a little bit of a vain guy. Just like, this is a pretty good conversation.
And now I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again now too.
It was crazy because I had zero memory of anything.
Yeah, I don't remember what we talked about either.
Like, I know it was good, but like I don't remember any details. So, and then I said, maybe I should watch it just so that we don't redo the same thing that we did last time. Just maybe try and keep it a little bit different.
What was that? 2 years ago?
It was 11 months ago.
That's it?
According to your YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I felt longer to me, but unless you uploaded it really late.
It might have been, because if you did on my channel, I use StreamYard, and then I'm not so good about putting things on YouTube. I'm bad with that stuff.
So maybe it was like a year and a half.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, could have been. Well, either way, we're due for another chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a chat.
For sure.
So, why don't we start with something a little... Everybody always talks like the same subjects with you, Larry, I think.
It is. That's why I don't like doing these things. And I started saying no quite a bit, and not because I didn't want to like do one for that person or something.
Yeah.
I'm sick of me, and I don't want other people to be sick of me.
Let's talk about us then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about us. So I remember the first time I ran into you. Do you remember the first time? Like, you came on my radar. Like, I noticed you as an individual that trained dogs. Do you remember me? I doubt you would, but
I don't know.
So do you remember this little thing called the Working Dog Forum?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So before Facebook, kids,
Oh my God,
before
that's
Facebook
right.
was a thing, it was always a thing, but like before people would actually do like discussions on there and
Yeah.
Facebook groups, all the dog people were on these things called forums.
That's right.
If you were into dogs, like not just like I have a pet dog and I'll share photos occasionally. No, if you were into dogs, whether as a trainer, as a hobbyist, or even as an owner, you would be on a forum for your specific breed or your specific interest. And I saw Larry for the first time on the Working Dog Forum.
That's funny.
And you know the first video I saw you do?
No.
I saw you were doing, I think it's the Michael Ellis method of teaching a hold with a Malinois with a glove in his mouth.
Yeah.
I had your hand in the glove.
Okay.
And you were teaching the dog to hold.
I didn't get that from Michael Ellis. I didn't know Michael Ellis taught it that
I've
way.
seen him do it. So
Yeah, I didn't even know. That's funny. That's funny you say that.
he probably got it from the retriever.
Dude, I did get it from Retriever people.
Yeah.
And do you know that's the first video that I got ripped apart about?
So that's why I remember this. So he posted it on the Working Dog Forum. And, you know, forums are like a den of just a combination of legitimate people, assholes, and then people that have no business commenting on anything dog related.
Oh, you got a good memory.
So he posted that video and like people were just ripping him in the comments. And I watched it. And listen, at the time I was like green as grass, but I messaged you privately and I was like, Larry, I thought that looked pretty good. And you were like, oh, thanks, you know?
That's funny. Oh, you know, it was 5 videos, right? And I honestly didn't think anything of it because I was taught, that was one of the ways I was taught. And out of all the ways, I hated teaching it like that because the dog hates the beginning of the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But once you get through it, it works really well, like really, really well. But when I started getting ripped apart, I was like, holy shit. I was shocked. I'm like, what is so bad about this, right? And then the bird dog people, especially the old timers, that's not a force fetch. That was the big thing. People were pissed because I called it a force fetch, but there was no pain involved.
So they weren't happy.
There was no ear pinch. There was no toe pinch, right? And I was like, holy shit. And then they said it'll never work. And then by the time I got to the 3rd or 4th video and my dog's retrieving really nice, they're like, well, it works for you. And I was like, first of all, here, you know, and I know I see things a little differently than people sometimes. I got my own way, but I don't try to just copy someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'll try things, and so I know I get a lot of grief from that, but I don't care because if I'm wrong, I have to find out for myself that I'm wrong. With the retrieve, that's never been, and I don't teach it like that anymore, but it was a very effective way. But my argument for those people has said, it's not a force fetch. There's no force. And I said, absolutely there is force. There's no pain.
Yeah.
But no dog wants you to open their mouth and put your hand with a glove in it, in their mouth. That I am forcing that.
For sure.
I'm telling the dog, you don't have a choice. And does it hurt? No.
Yeah.
Do they want you to do it? No. Right? But the thing that I liked about teaching it that way, and I started with my Rottweilers, I wanted to be able to teach a very soft bite. So when I listen, I've done the whole like trade show thing and demo dogs. I did all that shit, right? And by far the most popular demonstration I've ever did in my life. And it was always a hit. I would find like the biggest, toughest looking dude in the crowd. I'd give him a raw egg and I say, hold it and hold it out like this and don't move no matter what happens. And then I would do bite work with my Rottweiler and I'd get him all fired up biting. Then I'd out him and I would send him to the guy. I'd tell him fetch and he'd go running at the guy and you see them like shit their pants. And then he'd reach out real soft and take the egg and bring it and I would break it. And people are like, oh my God. I was able to do stuff like that because you get to teach the dog how much pressure is allowed. Bite is one thing. Fetch was something completely different, you know? And so I was really shocked. And, you know, I always appreciate that about you too, because you never try to just go with the flow. You always, like the podcast with me and Ivan, you were one of the few people say, I don't see anything wrong with that, you know, because everybody wants to just jump in like, oh yeah, you know, you're right. And I was like, that's pretty cool of him, you know, like if you believe in something, you don't give a fuck who it's going to be, because you had said things before I knew you were talking about me that you didn't like too. And I was like, I really like that. I could appreciate that. I never want anyone to agree with me just because we're friendly or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, shit, dude, you know, these days that's really hard to find.
It is like people get caught up in like the status. We live in like a social media world now. So like a big part of it is like some people obviously have tons of status and stuff on social media.
Yeah.
And some of them have it in real life. Like, you know, guys like Ivan, real accomplishments, obviously. Sure. And he has a ton of respect in the dog world, but doesn't make him a god. And when he says something that I think is objectively incorrect and doesn't make any sense, because I mean, I've taken actually some of his online courses. He's using graduated leash pressure constantly in those courses. So he believes in basically conditioning the dog with leash pressure. He doesn't just rip the dog's head off right away, you know,
For sure.
When he makes a mistake. He doesn't take the leash and just hammer the dog full power. He makes graduated pressure, as we all do when we train dogs with pressure. So why is it good for the leash but not good for the e-collar?
Well, the funny thing is I still have to answer questions about that to this day, right? Yeah. And I tell people, if you go back and watch that, I never disagreed with anything he said.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I agree with just about everything he said, but see, he was looking at it from the dog's perspective.
Sure.
I'm looking at it from the everyday owner that I've watched destroy their dogs for years, trying to do what he's claiming, right?
That'd be really good.
Peggy Sue down the street, 65-year-old Peggy Sue, you know, with the out-of-control dog, isn't going to be able to utilize the e-collar in the way that Ivan can or some other top-notch trainer. So when I set out to do that shit, I never created or invented anything different, right? But I saw this was by far the safest way where people are going to still screw it up, but they're not going to screw up the dog.
When you use, and maybe it's your influence, because like, you know, you talk a lot about people you've seen destroy dogs on e-collars. And I've seen some dogs, like you see how many dogs we have in and out of here all the time. Like you've been around a little bit our place, and you see like the types of like dogs coming in and out. And we get a lot of dogs that have been on an e-collar or an electric fence.
Yeah.
And but usually they're not wrecked to it. In some cases, they're like really desensitized to it. And in other cases, they've just learned to completely ignore it because it was used so inconsistently.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a lot of people trying the low stim conditioning. So even if they don't accomplish anything, they're not messing anything up if they're trying to train with the e-collar. But I find a lot of the owners are very like, maybe it's just the people I dealt with, but some people say, oh, you know, I used it once and he did something I didn't like, so I just stopped using it.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Like if you go back, like during the working dog farm days, I want to say, like literally 70% of the people I was working with were dogs that had been destroyed with the e-collar.
Yeah.
I don't see it much anymore. I see it where it's very ineffective.
Yes, a lot.
Like super ineffective. Like I'll watch people, they don't do this anymore because they've heard me talk about it, but I don't just like show up at the last minute for a seminar and then I'm there early, usually first. I like to greet everyone. I like to talk to everyone. You know, I like to appreciate people for being there. But I would watch people walk in with dogs with e-collars on, and I'd see that red dot going off nonstop.
Yeah. Tickle.
And I'd go up to them and be like, what are you doing? And they're like, what? I'm like, why are you hitting that button? And why so often, you know? And it's nerves. They're stressed, they're scared to death, and they're so scared that their dog's going to embarrass them.
Yeah.
So it's just, I said, okay, let me ask you something. You hit that thing 50 times a day? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, maybe 100 times a day? They're like, yeah. I'm like, has it worked? They're like, no. Like, why are you still doing it? Yeah. Just take it off. Just take it off. So I have seen to where, like, it's just completely ineffective. They're so in tune to it. And to be fair, again, to what Ivan was saying, the low level stuff, it's so misconstrued by what people think.
Yeah.
Right. And even though I've said it 150,000 times, listen, guys, because I start off one way, I stay there for a very short period of time. Right. But very quickly for my dogs or my clients' dogs, I'm getting to a place where it's there and it's there if I need it when they're off leash. That's it. And that's not going to be low level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People want to get married to that low-level thing, and they're so happy because their dog is doing so great around the house on a 15 or 20 or 30-foot line, and, oh, look, it's on a number 6 or a number 8 on a mini educator, and then they go to the park, and they take the dog off leash for the first time, and now that dog's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what did you do? You know, and they tell me, like, you did exactly what you tried doing in your home. That's not, first of all, the dog wasn't ready for that. right? Not ready to get rid of that leash. And that e-collar now is there. If you did the training properly, it's there if you need it. And it has to be something that the dog wants to avoid in the future. And even though I've shown videos, like even up until recently, of showing exactly what I'm talking about, that gets a lot of attention on the day or the day after I show it. But then it just gets hidden and people forget, and they always want to go back to the low level stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, so I'll say this, based on, like, obviously we have a perception of one another based on social media, because that's primarily how we take in each other. And my perception of you was that you did a ton of low stim and you stayed low.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not the case, but that was my perception. And I could see why people might get that impression, and maybe those videos are just the most popular videos.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I totally get what you're saying, right? Everything I did with the e-collar over the years, up until more, the past year, maybe 2 years, I always was aware of what I was saying, because I never realized I had any influence over anyone, right? I really didn't. Like, that wasn't a thing to me. And the first seminar I ever did, there was this little old lady from England that came to a seminar in Nashville. Her name was Leslie. Beautiful, beautiful little older woman. And she really just was super kind to me and was always giving me advice. And she pulled me aside one day. Back then, I used to talk about everything, like politics, everything, right? Mm-hmm. And she pulled me aside. She goes, "You have to understand something. Like, you're a public figure now, and you have to watch what you say." I was like, "Leslie, I'm not a public. I'm just a damn dog trainer." She goes, "No, you are. And you have to be careful what you say." And I kid you not, it was literally by the end of that week, I said something that blew up, and not in a good way. And I called her. I was like, "Here you go, Leslie. You were right." So if I take one of my dogs, right, by day 3, those dogs are off leash. And there was a long time where I used to brag and boast about clients' dogs, but it was ego. It was like almost all dogs can be off leash in the real world by day 3, all by day 5. And I was serious when I said that. And I never used a lot of pressure. I never used higher level stims or anything like that, right? But my point was, listen, guys, I've done this always. And if you do it this way, you're going to find yourself very rarely needing to use high levels, right? But again, what was said in that podcast, if you're trying to stop behaviors using low levels, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. That's all. But that's all there is to it, right? Mm-hmm. So people are looking just at the tool, and they're not looking at the totality of everything. I put a lot of time into training these dogs, and very little of it comes from the e-collar. That's
sure,
the least amount of time I do with client's dog is any of the e-collar usage. But once it goes on, the dog's where I need it to be. Now in a few days, we're in a super good place. You know what I mean?
So you're just using it to fundamentally re-emphasize what it is you've already taught the dog.
I wouldn't even go that far anymore, right? You can, but for my clients, this is what I tell them. Look, I could tell you what I do.
Sure.
For me, I'm not using it in obedience. I'll tell you how I used it the other day in obedience, so maybe that's a little bit of a lie. It's there for my dogs to be off leash in case I need it. Sure. And if I need to stop something I really don't like, then I'm going to limit its use to stopping things, right? But the truth is, I could tell you when the last time I used one on one of my dogs, and it was Dante, and it was last week with the send out, right? So I've used no pressure in his training, no e-collar stuff. That's not a part of his obedience. It's not a part of his IGP training, nothing. But the thing that scares me the most is the send out and all the obedience stuff. I'm like, I'm going to blow this because this fucking dog wants to search if he doesn't see something down there, right? So I'm trying to show him as many pictures as possible. And I think I'm just not putting enough reps into that one exercise, so you're always going to be uncomfortable. But he's jacked for it, so he's, anticipating.
Yes.
Anticipating. And I could easily use a leash and come from me, but now you're creating a lot of conflict. And I don't want that in any of the exercises, right? And this is something that's so overlooked by the anti-everything people with this tool. Now I can completely take out because of course, most of the times I want it to be personal. I want to be able to stop and just look at him like, are you fucking kidding me? And he's like, oh my God, I fucked up, right?
Yeah.
But in that case, I was pretty sure the easiest way to stop that anticipation was say nothing and little tap on the e-collar, and it literally took 2 times, and the anticipation was gone, right? Now he knows I can't break, right? Because he starts hesitating, tap, tap, I stop, Matt, we're going to start this over, right? That took 2 times to fix that anticipation of breaking before I send him. Can I do that with a leash? Yes. It's going to take longer, and I don't want any of that conflict coming into the exercises for the sport. But that's just me. Sure. I can't speak on the sport because I've done nothing. You know what I mean? But I'm using this as a really good learning process for me, because you do learn a lot. Because can I teach every behavior in the sport? Yeah, and I have taught every behavior in the sport. Can I do it in a way where I'm going to be successful on a field and package it the way guys like you have and other people have? No, I can't. I'm going to fail a bunch of times doing it, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm already thinking my next dog, all the things that I do different for the sport. You know,
I think if you didn't fail, you wouldn't want to do the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine if you just put it out there and smoked everything.
No, yeah, I'd be like, I'd
do it a little bit, get off on it, and then just be like, all right, next. You know, that's kind of boring. I love the complexity of the sport. I love that it. Like, the thing with pet training is, you know, you've been pet training for years. I've been pet training for years. You've definitely been doing it longer than me. And there's a lot of pet trainers out there, but it's very subjective. Yeah. I can say I'm the best pet trainer in the world, and you can say you're the best pet trainer in the world. And it's subjective. Some people agree with me. Some people agree with you.
And you can agree with both.
Exactly.
You could do things completely opposite and both be right.
Exactly. Now, I can say I'm the best IGP trainer in the world, and people be like, no, you're not.
Right.
That's what I like about IGP.
Sure.
It's, there's a ton of behaviors that we have to train, but it's putting it all together, getting rid of all the reinforcement, positive and negative, going out there and seeing, can you make this 3 phases, not just 1 phase, not 2 phases, 3 phases, tracking, obedience, protection. Can you do it? To me, it is the biggest challenge that a dog trainer, in my humble opinion, will face.
It's a lot, dude. I go out one day and, you know, I was totally green to tracking.
Yeah.
So I've tried to learn from a lot of good people, and there's days I'll go out and I'll post about it all the time. I'll go out and like, he'll track so well. I'm like, God, this was fucking great.
Yeah.
And I go out the next day and it's like the worst thing in the world. I'm like, how is this possible? Yesterday, this was done beautifully. Today, it's a disaster. You know what I mean? And it's like, listen, I did my BH with Dante. It's the only how far we got yet. He's never broken a down in his life.
Yeah.
Like, not from a puppy. So I started with long downs. I could do with all my dogs, like from day one, you know? So in no time, as soon as I knew he could handle it, I'm hiding behind trees, behind cars. I'm on busy roads. It's not something I ever was concerned with. Like, this isn't something he does. He doesn't get out of a down. And I've never had to correct him or fix him because he never gave me the opportunity to. So I'm doing the BH and I'm in the long down first, you know, and I got my back to him. And towards the end of the other guy's routine, there's a guy working a Rottweiler. He's kind of close to Dante. He's on that side of the field. And all of a sudden I hear Dante's first saver move. And I'm like, I look over my shoulder and he's standing there like, did you say something? I'm like, what the fuck, man? I was like, down, you know? And he went back down, but I could tell. Mm-hmm. He thought that I told him to do something. I could tell by the look on him, you know what I mean? I was like, holy fuck. The thing that I had no concern with, that was a good kick in the ass. That really was, man.
That's IGP. You'll say, oh, I'm worried about my send out. I'm worried about this. That part will go great. And then something you thought you had in the bag will go to hell. And then you'll be like, oh, well, you know, maybe that was a hole in my training. Maybe I need to do X more, Y more. Set the dog up for this failure again and show him how to be successful. You know, that's what I love about it. It's so complex.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've seen some of the best in the world at like national level trials. I'll go, they send their dog out, they yell it down, and the dog just keeps running around. And I'm like, oh my God, if this has happened to them, I'm fucked.
Everything's happened. That's the thing, you know, with IGP, it's a game of consistency. all these guys, these top guys, they've been to the trials. They've had bad days.
Yeah.
They've had terrible phases. They've had dogs that refused to track. They've had dogs that, blew a send out, blew long downs, I've seen it all, but they keep coming back.
Sure.
And they're consistent and they're there and they just keep working.
Yeah, and there's so many little things that they have, like little tricks that, I've never been aware of.
Each dog teaches you a trick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or a trick.
Yeah.
Many tricks.
It's crazy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So, we talked about when I first came across you.
Yeah.
When did you first come across me?
Man, I don't remember. I have no,
that's how insignificant I am.
No, my memory and listen, I got Lyme disease a few years ago. That's serious. And so now I have no short-term memory.
Really?
Yeah, some things I don't forget, weird things, and other things I lose stuff now. I can't, and I never used to lose things.
I lose things.
So I have really hard time remembering things. But like I said, the one thing that I liked about you is, for one, you show training.
Oh, yeah.
And not a lot of people do.
And corrections.
I'll show you. Why can't you just listen? All the talk that's out there now, the back and forth, the Zach George, the dog daddy, just stop. Just show the training.
Yeah.
And that is something I've screamed about with the e-collar stuff for years. Listen, they're going to take this. We have to show more good training, right? So I always appreciated that. But I don't remember what it was. You did say something in a negative way. You didn't call me out by name, but I knew you were talking about me. At least maybe my ego's big enough. I don't remember what it was, but I don't think anyone else was doing it. But I like when someone has criticism, is not scared to say it.
I've thought negative things about you in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not negative he's a bad guy.
Right.
But from a dog training.
Yeah, I know you have, because I've heard you.
Yeah.
That never bothers me.
Yeah.
Because it makes me look at things a little different, right? And so when I go back and if I hear someone criticize something, I'll take a deeper look into it. And sometimes I'm like, I could do this better, or this isn't the best I could do here, But when it's something I'm like, no, I really believe in this. Only if I believe in something that strongly, it's because I've done it so many times and with so many different pictures. And when I say pictures, I mean so many different dogs and people. Mm-hmm. But anything I do, I always try to fall back on the worst handlers, the people who struggle the most, and the everyday dog owners. And that's not always the right answer for someone that has a little bit of an ability.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in the business of not just training dogs for us, we're training dogs for other people. And what we might personally do does not necessarily translate to what somebody else might do. Right. And that's my and I'm going to switch tacks suddenly here. I'm going to go Cesar Millan and Dog Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what they do might work for them. My beef with those guys, I don't really have a beef with them, but my criticism of those guys is what they do might work for them in their relationship with their dog or any dog that they're handling. I don't think it translates. So when they say, all right, the dog was being crazy, I got him to stop being crazy, here you go. I think when they leave, that dog goes back to doing all the same things he was doing.
Well, there's no doubt about it, right? Because from working with pet dog clients, my success comes from the amount of work I put with the people.
Yes.
The dogs are very rarely going to be difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone that criticizes Cesar Millan, right? Because I do think if the public just committed to the simple things he preaches, right? Mm-hmm. Exercise, discipline, then affection, simple things like that, right? Those little things that anyone can do.
Yeah.
Then I think he's a huge value for people. And as dog trainers, we all owe him a ton.
He put dog training on the
He most certainly did.
He's the world's most famous dog trainer.
Yeah, so the Flavor Flav wannabe, I don't even talk about him. I don't have a dog in that fight because to me, I'm not even going to give that credit. You know what I mean? Because I know listen, I would be more lenient and have more of a conversation with him if show some of those dogs 6 months down the road.
For me, it's the same with Caesar And that was my criticism of him. I was like, I got no doubt if he lives with that dog, you know, you saw it. He had like this giant like facility.
Yeah.
He had dogs living there full time. He had like 40, 50 dogs. As someone that trains dogs and the types of dogs that he had, you know, someone has to have an ability to make all those dogs get along.
No doubt.
You know, and just do all the things he was doing with those dogs.
Yeah.
How that translates to Joe Blow, that's where I would question. And I think a lot of people would have problems with it. But, you know, I only bring up the other gentleman because, let's face it, he's the subject of much controversy now for
absolutely
how viral he's gone.
Yeah.
And B, let's face it, his appearance.
Yeah. And listen, I have much less respect for Zach George than I do Dog Daddy. Much less respect.
That's not even a conversation.
Yeah, because I get so sick and fucking tired of him just repeating the same shit about these studies and these animal behaviorists. Just stop the bullshit. Show a fucking dog. Just train a dog.
Please.
Just train a fucking dog.
One dog.
And I've been asking him for years to do that. I mean, holy shit, man. Years ago, I actually took the side of Jeff Gelman over him, right? And and that got a lot of popularity on Zach's page because I said he went after him for something. And I don't blame him for doing that. Don't get me wrong. He had every right to. But I did tell him, you just need to show yourself training a difficult dog. Because I said, here you go. I'll give you several. I'll show you several. You never see me get abusive. I'm a very light-handed trainer. I rarely get hard on a dog, right? But you are yet to show anything. And he repeats the same shit over and over and over. Like I watched a live with a couple force-free trainers the other day, and I try.
You were drunk, right?
No, I just try, man, because I'm like, I don't know why. It's like watching a car wreck. Like they talk about the same bullshit ever. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that we are teaching these behaviors with e-collars and prong collars and punishment? Like,
you can't teach with punishment.
Yeah, like
that's scientifically impossible.
But that's what they're claiming.
Yeah.
You know, like you'll see people. I could teach that with food. Well, no shit, fucker. So did I. Yeah. So why do you think I'm different than you? I'm just better with food than you are. That's all it goes. Because most of the people who claim this shit, they're terrible at what they do. There's very talented force-free trainers out there, right? But there's a lot more that are completely incapable of training a dog. And to me, if you're taking a dog with behavioral problems, you're a thief. You're a used car salesman. You're telling people the big lie that you're going to help them, and you never do. You never do.
One thing I always say, and I don't normally, people always ask me about this guy. What about that guy? I don't like naming names. I have no problem using like certain like guys like Zach George. I'll say his name because in my opinion, he's actively engaged in misleading the public.
Absolutely.
And
you're right.
He's probably been responsible for more dogs dying and being given up on than, you know, a lot of people that are training dogs today, including even bad trainers. And I have no problem saying his name and saying what I think of him. And I don't think he's a dog trainer.
He's a personality. He's an entertainer.
He is an entertainer.
That's what he is.
He's like a Victoria Stilwell.
Yes.
You know, like pretending to be a dog trainer, making a nice show. But, you know, I don't know how anyone could watch his videos and think that he actually could train a dog. Like he couldn't even show you a dog just walking with him off leash through any normal environment other than like a field all by himself.
No,
you know, like,
I'll tell you why. Because the people that he's catering to, they're the same people that wear a mask in their car when they're by themselves.
Yeah,
That's
the science says. Mask on.
He just talks about the science, right? Like, okay, show me one of these scientists training a dog. Right? Because I know a lot of people that go to animal behaviorists from very reputable universities and places. They pay $500, $600, $700 an hour. The person never touches a dog, and this is the medication they put them on. Show me somebody training a dog. I don't know.
I've always made it open. I'm like, you know, anybody. If you're like a Zach George, you know, or Zach George or a Zach George adjacent individual, we can do this. I'll put $20,000 in cash down on the table. You put $20,000 in cash. We can put it in escrow, and we'll go to the same shelter, and we'll pick out we'll both pick out a dog that's mutually acceptable. You'll accept my dog, and I'll accept your dog. We'll go to the shelter. We'll take the dogs and we'll train the dogs, and we'll give each other 6 weeks, and we'll see who can do what.
It'll never happen.
Of course it won't.
It will never happen.
Because that'll be the quickest 20 grand they ever lost.
It will never happen.
But it's crazy to me, you know, in this world, it's like, you know, they're talking about science that's like 150 years old. This science that they talk about, they make it sound like it's like new breaking science. They're talking about behavioral science. It's like,
but they don't even talk about the complete science.
Of course,
that's a problem. And any study you look at, especially when electricity was used, right? There's not people walking around with e-collars mimicking those studies. That's what they can't wrap their head around. Well, of course, the dog's cortisol levels through the roof, and it's shaking and shitting itself in the corner. If you did that today, the same thing's going to happen to most dogs, or a lot of dogs, right? That's not what people are doing. It's not what they're doing, you know?
Well, I mean, I've shown, it's funny because like they did this thing, oh, the cortisol and blah, blah, blah. And then meanwhile, like videos of like guys who I know have trained with, they train their dog with electric. Like you talked about that viral video of the dog that's doing the send out and hammers the down, like he slides. Yeah. That guy is like a very well-known Nepo-Po style. I'm not going to say he's Nepo-Po, right. I don't know, but like I know he's like that style of training.
Sure.
Like tons of e-collar, but you will know watching the dog's performance unless you really know what to look at. Mm-hmm. And these people can't read behavior anyway, so they wouldn't really know.
No. Listen, I've mentioned this on other podcasts, so I hate to mention it on yours too, but I have to.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, because it really entails what goes on out there. There was a force-free trainer. And by the way, I get force-free trainers at my seminars all the time. And I've never had one try to cut my head off, right? But I had one that contacted me and said she took a bunch of my e-collar videos and submitted them to her group.
Yeah.
And said, I think you guys need to watch these because these dogs look happy and he's using e-collars, right? And I'll never forget it. I've repeated this many times, but the greatest statement in the history of comments, someone in our group said, he abused those dogs into looking happy.
That's awesome.
So I am the world's greatest dog trainer, according to them.
I wish I could do that. But you know, there is something to that. There is something to that, because I'm actually a firm believer. And maybe you'll disagree with me. You're light-handed trainer, and I actually don't doubt that you are. I wouldn't say I'm a light-handed trainer. I wouldn't say I'm a heavy-handed trainer. I'm a trainer, and like I don't err on anything. I have no problem doing what I think a specific dog needs. And you know, my own personal dog's probably, there's no dog in the world that's gotten more corrections than my own personal dog from me.
Yeah, but you're consistent. You're clear.
Yes.
That's the difference.
But when we speak about, okay, can you tell? When you see my dog with me, when we're on the field, there's no collars, there's no balls, there's nothing. Trial video, I put trial video out.
Yeah, no,
you know?
You're not going to.
Can you tell me that my dog was trained with an e-collar, but somebody else wasn't?
No.
You can't, and they can't.
No.
So why are we playing this game of like, and here's the other thing. I think dogs, so we talked about abusing dogs into liking you.
Yeah.
I think whether it's children, whether it's dogs, whether it's anybody that you're in a position of authority over in life, if you just give them nothing but, you know, positive reinforcement all the time, and you never, you know, unless they're a perfect individual, which no being or individual is, you are going to need to be corrected. You are going to need guidance. We have this feeling of stress. We have this feeling of fear. We have this thing that we do where we avoid stress, we avoid fear, whatever it is, right? Where it's not a pleasant feeling, but we feel this way for a reason. We have these feelings for a reason. They're a biological imperative. They've allowed us to survive, and not only survive, but as a species to thrive. Just as important as pleasure, as dopamine, as feelings of accomplishment and success, I think that you do not have the same level of intensity in your feelings of pleasure, in your positive feelings, if you didn't have some stress in the process.
Absolutely. How are you going to have pleasure if you don't know what stress is? What do you compare it to? You know what I mean? I'm someone who spends a lot of time in the woods watching animals, like really watching animals, right? Mother Nature is for real. There is no force-free in Mother Nature. Not with white-tailed deer, not with coyotes, not with raccoons, bobcats, birds, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It doesn't exist. Not with a mother with her puppies. It doesn't exist. These people are preaching a lie. It's a damn lie.
It's not
fraud.
natural.
No,
It's not natural.
No.
It's like, I don't understand. There's no science you could ever tell me that would convince me to leave what nature has already shown us to be the case.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we're doing it too. We're doing it with people and kids, and you see how that's turned out. You see how that's turned out, man.
It's sad because like I'm raising two young children right now. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I'm very positive with them, and I'm also very physical with them. Not like to punish them, but like I'm rough with them. You know, I play with them, like I play rough with them, and they love it. They just keep coming back for more. And I notice, you know, things where I'm a dog trainer, so I look at them as puppies. So I'm always like, okay, I did this much last time. Let me do a little more, build up his stress tolerance a little bit. And it really comes through, like where they're like, I'm like, wow, bro, like you're really bringing it now. Like your level of resilience to stress is so much higher. And we're doing this in the context of playing, you know, but now this is going to translate to life. When stressful things happen, their whole nervous system, their physiology is going to be much more prepared than a kid that was always told yes, never played, never had, you know, daddy push him down when they're playing, you know, never was told no. That kid, when he runs into the world and the world is full of stress, whether you like it or not, is going to completely fall apart.
Yeah.
Versus my kids that are going to grow up with a nice, balanced, you know, upbringing, and they're going to be resilient towards them.
Listen, I've seen it in the worst way possible. In 1996 is when I entered on duty as a federal agent.
Yeah.
And in 1996, I was in the United States Border Patrol Academy. And back then, when it was a real academy, it was brutal, physically brutal. It was rough. And you take a couple of weeks in the middle of PT, physical training, which was like horrendous, and you just focused on boxing. I boxed. I love boxing. That's my true love, right? You don't realize how most adult men can't fight whatsoever. But then you see the ones that have never been in any kind of altercation. And we had one dude, and I'm dead serious when I say this, I'm not even kidding, that once he got hit, you know, he almost got knocked out, but not quite knocked out, was laying in the fetal position, covered up, doing this. This is someone that is going to have to maybe protect your back one day, right? That's someone that's never been in any kind of altercation, never experienced that kind of stress on any level.
Yeah.
And so the first time they do, they fall apart. And that's why one of the most important things I ever took from Bart Ballone, and I always give credit to people, right? Because he's had such a huge influence on the way I think about so many things, was about making puppies and dogs mentally strong.
Yes.
Like it's in the pet dog world, people don't think of that.
No.
And that's why so many dogs are destroyed as pet dogs. They give too much freedom too soon, and they create mental weaklings.
Yes.
Right? And if you just take a puppy and you expose it to many different things and keep putting it in little stressful situations that it could work its way out, you're going to build a very stable dog, you know?
To me, one of the most abusive things you could do to a dog or to a child that you are responsible for, that you are responsible to bring up in this world and, you know, give them the best possible life you can give them, is to not show them how to productively deal with stress. To instead show them that the solution to stress is flight, avoidance, surrender, instead of, you know, bucking up, pushing forward, and getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how pervasive this idea has become.
Well, look, you got kids who commit suicide. We just had one in our hometown commit suicide. Think a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Right? Devastating. Young girl being bullied in school. Now, if that girl goes into school and lays a beating on the people bullying her, they kick her out and probably lock her up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the people doing the bullying, they get away with it. Then this girl kills herself. Who is to blame there? Be done. See, when I was a kid, we didn't deal with that because, shit, I was probably 8 years old, 7 years old when I had an older kid picking on me, and I told my dad, and he said, don't ever come home and cry about that again. Take care of it. And I did. I learned very quickly.
Yes.
Okay, this is what we do.
And
you know,
I'll be doing the same thing. And I've been preparing them, because especially with boys, I mean, for sure, you just spoke about a girl, and I think, there's actually science on how boys and girls tend to bully each other and interact. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, kids are psychopaths.
Yeah.
They're very self-centered. They're literally like psychopaths. Their brains just haven't fully developed, and they will mistreat each other. They're ruthless with one another, especially when there's no adults watching.
Sure.
And if you don't prepare them for that, and you don't understand that that's going to happen as a parent, and you haven't adequately prepared your child for that experience, their pain is actually I don't even blame the bullies. It's your fault as a parent that you failed to.
My wife is much more straight and narrow than me, right? Like really, like a very good person, always a rule follower. But even my wife told my son's a really good kid. Even my wife told him, if you see someone being picked on at school, like, take care of it.
Yeah.
We don't care if you get thrown out of school. This from my wife, who like doesn't preach. She's not violent like me. She's not aggressive, but she has enough sense to know no kid should have to fear that in school. And she told my son, you see someone weaker being picked on, you do whatever you have to do. And if you get thrown out of school, we'll take you for ice cream. Don't worry about it.
I would feel the same way. I mean, I was actually picked on in school, right up until about grade 10. I was a fat kid, right? So, I was picked on, and I went through, and I was very like shy and, very retiring.
That's why you're so fucking angry these days.
You know what? It's all that trauma, that repressed trauma. Now I'm just taking it out on the world, But yeah, I was like very much not like how I am now. And so I went through it, but hey, that teaches you. It teaches you what the world is like. It teaches you what the price of weakness is, mental weakness, physical weakness. There's a price to be paid. And it prepared me as a father to say, and as a dog owner, dog trainer, the creatures that are entrusted to me by God to be prepared for this world should not have to go through what you went through.
Right.
And you must prepare them. And there's a way to do it in a healthy and age-appropriate, productive manner. And there's also a way to kind of, not do it. And I think the problem is we conflate, somebody that's taking things to the extreme, or they're just a bad person.
Yeah.
And now because, that person did that, now everything that is bad. Whether it's an e-collar, whether it's a hand, whether it's listen, my dad is very lovely human being. And I'm not being sarcastic. He's a lovely human being, very nice guy, very easygoing guy. He's Middle Eastern, but for a Middle Eastern guy, super chill, right? But he smacked me a few times as a kid, and each one of those times, I know I literally gave him no other choice.
Right.
And I know he'll never listen to this because he's not interested in dogs.
I'm going to send it to him.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. I know I probably needed more than what I got.
Where's your dad from? What country?
He's Kurdish.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Kurdish. So that's where I get the name, Hajar. It's actually my full name is Hajar. So that's where the name comes from.
That's what I'm calling you from now on, because that's your name.
God. I just say Has because, everybody's like, Hazar, Hazir. Like, oh God. I don't have time to get into a long conversation, about how to say my name. So it's just 3 letters. It's easy for everybody.
See, my dad never put a hand on me.
No.
But I didn't give him reason to, because I saw him kick my brother's ass so many times.
Exactly.
My younger brother. Yeah, it's not like he wouldn't. So I had a healthy fear.
Yeah.
Even though he's never touched me, I had a healthy fear. So I just became very good at hiding things.
There you go.
Very good at hiding things. You know what I mean? Because I was a son of a bitch as a kid. I really did. And I've gotten my ass beat from the cops, many times as a kid, sometimes justified, sometimes not. But when you start just giving them reason to, then there's going to be times where now you're going to get it when it's not justified too. You already
did something at some point.
Oh yeah, and I did. So the beatings I used to get from the cops as a kid were, almost always very justified. You know what I mean? But I was a psychopath. But I can't imagine. And I had the healthy fear of getting in trouble. Growing up in today's world where you can't get in trouble, holy shit.
I think I would have, I was actually even, I was pretty good in school. I wasn't Mr., superstar student, because I just wasn't, I'm not that into, academics. Like both my parents are academics.
Yeah.
I'm not an academic.
Where'd you grow up?
Toronto.
Oh, you did grow up.
I grew up in
Okay.
Toronto. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just not an academic individual. I think I haven't had that much interest in it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really work that hard, but I never caused problems. But if things, there was always consequences. Like maybe it was like the last kind of generation of there being consequences. Now I'm afraid of what I think I would have been a real piece of garbage.
There's no consequences for anything anymore, dude. There just isn't. We live in a dangerous
But
world.
there is consequences.
For the people that aren't.
Terrible consequences.
Yes, there is.
For the dogs and for the people.
We all pay the consequences. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And with the dog thing, it's I hate it because I find my patience getting less and less. And I've always been very patient with people, and I'm still very patient with dogs. Like with my own dogs, I have no patience. With other people's dogs, like nothing phases me, man.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm so on point with you. Like with my dogs, I have expectations. I have standards. With like, that lady's dog, she brought in that full dog. Like, I'm just like, hey, no problem, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll help you through.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be your friend.
Yeah.
We're going to play with you. We're going to build you up. With my personal dog, it's like, hey, bro.
I'm always yelling at my dogs. Fucking idiot. What are you doing? I'm fucking at it. What are you doing?
Of course.
With other people's dogs, it just doesn't faze me. But I'm seeing, and maybe I'm just noticing it more, but I'm seeing people getting worse with their dogs. People are becoming worse handlers, and people are getting dogs way above their pay grade. And it's getting to a point where, and I've probably said this before. I was doing a seminar at my buddy's place in Arkansas last year, a solo seminar, not with Jay and Joel. And I've never had this happen before, but the last day I just stopped and looked around, and I literally said to myself, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, because there were a couple of people that were in really dangerous situations, like
It's always tough.
really dangerous monstrosity, molluser type dogs. And, you're 70 years old and,
I've recommended, I've recommended maybe 3 times in my professional career a dog be put down. In one circumstance, it was like a mollusser type. He was about 140 pounds. He was not in any way fear aggressive. He was very socially aggressive. So in terms of like, he could be around and just, tail touching the back, just a big dog, right? Handler's about 100-pound female. And the dog had put her and her boyfriend in the hospital twice. And so anyways, they were keeping him muzzled. We're working the dog through the training, and nothing faced this dog. Like just really mentally strong dog, and very large, very well built, very physical, very athletic. And we had done maybe 2 sessions, and she came once, and the trainers called me out. They're like, hey, come look at her. She was wearing shorts, and around her legs were these circular like giant red scratches and welts. And she fundamentally, what happened was, I think he'd done something in the house, and she just told him no, like, hey, no, and like didn't even touch him. He attacked her with the muzzle on. And when they wrap their front legs around you, like that's commitment, by the way. Like it's not like a little muzzle punch. It's like the dog wrapped her up with his front legs. He's outweighs her, and he had pushed her up against the wall, and he was trying to maul her through the muscle, and he'd created these big circular scratches around her legs. And I looked at that, and I said, there's no room for error. If this dog, like, I don't care how good we get him, his aggression wasn't coming from fear. It was literally coming from, I call social aggression anything where the dog is motivated by a perception that you're impeding his dominion over, something, whether it's a resource, whether it's, you just simply telling him what to do. Right. There are some dogs, not so common, thankfully, but there are certainly some dogs like this that are very, what we would call dominant, and they're willing to utilize physical force to enforce their dominance over whatever it is that they want to be dominant over. And the dog had done this to her, and I just saw and he had done it before, and he'd put her in the hospital before, but that level, that commitment, because I do a lot of protection work and stuff, so I know what commitment looks like. and that commitment. And I said, if she was by herself and he wasn't wearing a muzzle, she'd be dead.
She'd be dead.
She'd be dead.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? I said, I'm sorry. You know what? I recommend that you put this dog down.
I talk to people all the time as that, you know, if your dog is human aggressive, doesn't like people outside of the home, wants to kill every dog that it sees, we could work with that.
Yes.
We could do that. We could work with that. We can make it so we never put that dog in that situation, and we'll continue to try to make the dog better, right? Yeah. But when you have a dog that's a danger to you, I have a problem with that.
Huge problem.
I have a problem. You're going to fail. You know, I mean, this is dangerous. You shouldn't be scared of your own dog. You know, you just shouldn't.
And how can you not be? If I, you know, it's funny. We were laughing about Kevin because Larry met Kevin, and like how big he is. Now, we're grown men. We're grown men.
I'm not a little person.
No,
that dog would kill me. I'd have his puppies.
Yeah, he'd make you his wife. Kevin is like 18 months. Now, we're grown men. Imagine a 120-pound woman with a large dog, maybe not even as big as Kevin. Like for them, every dog is Kevin.
Right.
They're 120 pounds. So
right.
Like any large breed dog is pretty much their weight, their height, if not more. And when now you add handler aggression into the mix, and like not like a little redirection, we're talking committed, I'm going to kill you type of aggression. Now we're talking about risk to life if she's by herself.
Dude, I've seen you with that dog in your videos. Kevin's is Caucasian, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
So I've seen you with that dog. What I just saw in there, I don't know if you saw the look on my face, but I could feel my face go, holy fuck, man. That dog, video don't do him justice. That's a scary, scary dog, dude. Oh, when he stood up on that fence, it was, I should have filmed it, but I was in such awe. I'm thinking, I hope this fence is secure, because if he gets through, I'm just going to drop my pants and give him the booty. I'm not even going to fight him. I can't fight this dog. Dude, that's a scary beast.
But the great thing about Kevin is he's not like that with the handler at all.
That's good.
Like I can say, Kevin, stop. And so one of my girls, he likes two girls that work here, and he likes me. That's his people. Everybody else he tolerates. He's like, I know you, but don't get too freaking
Heaven.
Yeah.
Heaven.
So he likes two girls here, and one of these girls, she's like 110 pounds. I think she's like only like just a university girl, like very like young.
Yeah.
It doesn't know much about dog training. And she was pulling him out of the run that he was in, and he saw one of the guys that comes here sometimes, and he doesn't like men, especially bigger men.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, he saw him, and he started bowing up and started to pull her, and she's going because she's not going to physically stop it. I said, say no and smack him on the nose. She was like, no. He does a little like on his nose, and he was like, you know, he like looked at her like really apologetically. I'm like, all right, now take one. Okay, come on, Kevin. And he just goes with her.
That's impressive, because Kevin is the real deal, man. Like that head, like he looked into my eyes, and I was like, holy fuck, man, this is not. I almost asked you, like, this isn't the same one you have on your videos, because that one doesn't look. Like I said, video doesn't do him justice. Like that's
no. I don't know how to catch her. I don't know. This dance.
You can't.
You're supposed to capture the size.
You can't. Like it's like, you know, when I go out west and you're in the Rocky Mountains or something, you try to take pictures. I'm like, I don't even bother.
Yeah,
because it's useless. It's not going to come out. Like what I'm seeing can't translate. It's too incredible. That dog is fucking impressive, dude. Like that's an impressive dog.
You can take a video with him later. Don't worry. I think the fence will hold. Hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll stand next to you.
Kevin.
Yeah, but that's for me. Like, okay, if he was handler aggressive, I would say, you know, like, and he was like severe. If he was severely handler aggressive, right? Then I'd say, okay, now we think about other options, because now this dog is a danger to people that are outside of his circle. Like it's in the breed standard for that type of dog to not like people that aren't in his circle. That's why they're so good at their damn job.
Sure.
But those types, a lot of the Molliser types, a lot of the livestock guardians I find are actually fairly sensitive to the handler. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because if they were handler hard,
man. Yeah, you'd be done. I told you about the two Kangles I worked with here. They were the first two I ever worked with, and lady brought them from far away. she had called me and asked if I knew what they were, and I love the breed.
Yeah.
So I talked to her about the breed a lot, and she's like, I'm bringing both. It was a mom it was a pretty shitty breeding case. They just bred the hell out of her, you know.
Yeah.
She was fairly small for the breed. She had a puppy. The puppy was 7 months old, and he was big dog already, man. And then the mom had killed a bunch of dogs already at this time. Killed her pit bull in the house, killed a bunch of dogs outside the house. And she had built this outdoor home, and she had to put a 12-foot chain link fence and electrify it.
Yep.
Because this dog would go over anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And when I had these dogs, we got hit with a really bad ice storm in Kentucky. It was like 2009, I think, or something, 2008. And she told me, she's like, don't bring them in. Don't put them in the garage. Don't put hay out for them. They won't use any of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't understand. It's like 20 below. She's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They won't. And she was right. They didn't care. But I remember I was using my Rottweiler, this guy, Bruno, and we went for a walk. And he was just off leash because he would know how to keep distance, right? And she was tolerating him. You could see the side eye. She wasn't happy, but she was tolerating him. She was very sensitive to me. And I figured, okay, now it's going to be kind of a little bit of a test. We went into my garage where her food was. And the second, like, we were ahead of my Rottweiler. And the second he entered the garage, all of a sudden I realized I had a lion at the end of the leash. I was like, holy fuck. And she was fairly small for the breed. And when my Rottweiler saw that, his whole facial expression turned. He was coming, right? Because now I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Thank God obedience is important. Bruno, go. And he hit the brakes, and, you know, he had a very soft look on his face always, but he was ready to fight. She would have killed him.
Yeah.
You know? And there's a picture of all the little neighborhood girls with my daughter out front, all the parents around, and they're playing with the puppy. I say puppy, he was probably over 100 pounds already. And he's laying on the side.
The Kangal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's laying on his side, and all the little girls are loving on it, and he opens his mouth to yawn, and I'll just never forget one of the parents goes, what the fuck is that? Because their mouth isn't even like a regular dog's mouth.
Oh.
Like, they have teeth like double the size of the biggest dogs. Like, the canines are just massive.
They're extremely primal.
And the jaw and the head. Listen, I've told people this before. We talk about tough dogs. You know, you got the whole dog fighting thing, the pit bulls and everything, right? I had to do some shitty work for once, some overseas money case, whatever. But there was dog fighting involved. Let's just say that. So I had to watch. I saw a bunch of videos I normally wouldn't want to watch, but it was fascinating to see the behavior. Overseas, as you probably know, right? Especially in the Middle East and stuff,
It's quite legal.
they fight all different breeds.
Yeah.
And there was no other breed that even came close to lasting with the Kangals. See, they would usually live because the biggest, baddest dogs would quit.
Yeah.
And when the dogs quit, the Kangals would usually just do what they had to do, right? But with the pit bulls, they had to kill the pit bulls right away because
they don't quit.
They wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
So every time I saw a Kangal fight a game pit bull, the pit bull wound up dead because no matter how bad it was being beat, it didn't stop. And when you see what those dogs were capable of doing to the biggest, scariest, toughest dogs, you're like, this is like a completely wild animal. It's not like a domesticated dog. Like it's different. And that's why, you know, they're single-handedly saved the cheetah population.
Yeah.
And I think in Namibia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right? Because once farmers started realizing, you know, they were killing cheetahs because cheetahs were killing the livestock. Someone was smart enough, look at these dogs, let's try. There were no more friggin' livestock being killed once they got those dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's really, they're impressive. When I saw him, dude, that alone was worth the trip. I was like I haven't had hair stand up on me like that in a while, dude. I'm literally going, please let this fence hold him, man.
I had a couple, last week I had a couple cops come over. They were looking at some dogs. And I was like, guys, you have to see this. Took them in there. They were like, oh my God, is this Kevin? I'm like, yeah. Kevin, yeah, that's Kevin. They're like, holy shit. You know, it's
no joke.
He has to be seen in person to be appreciated.
He does.
You know.
He does. It's not worth even making video with him, like to show who he is, because you would never get it to come across like that, you know?
It's funny, you know, and people are like, oh, why is he like that? I'm like, that's how they're bred.
That's how those puppies come out like that, man.
And they're cute when they're little. They're, you know, it's like a giant stuffed toy.
Yeah.
and then it grows and it doesn't stop.
You don't have to teach that. That's there.
Oh, it's there. It's funny. I took a video of it, and it just, for whatever reason, the video didn't work. But we had like a little 6-month-old Kangol in a couple months ago, and he was like little. We actually got him at 5 months, and then he became 6 months while he was here with us. And exact same behavior behind the fence, that reactive aggression behind the fence, and even in person too. We had to put that, hey, we know you're like this. We know why you're like this, but you got to keep it on the DL, buddy. Like for me with Kevin, my rule is when I'm walking you out in the route, you don't go off on anybody. That's the rule. You know, if you're behind your fence, I'm not going to even bother with that. That's all right. That's whatever. But when we're out and about in public, I'm not going to let anyone touch you, of course. But I do expect you to behave like a gentleman. And every dog is capable of that.
I think you're going the wrong route with him. I think you need more of a force-free route with Kevin.
I tried hot dogs in the beginning. You know, it's
not hot dog. You need sausage sandwiches from the Bronx. That's what you need for Kevin.
He loves food. He's unfortunately has a food sensitivity, so it's like I have to give him we give him a salmon-based Costco kibble.
Yeah.
Once we moved him to that, he's been like really good with that stuff. He likes food. He actually likes to train for food, which is surprising. Yeah, a lot of those types of dogs do not.
Yeah.
But he likes to work for food, and he loves games. Like he's not a big toy dog, but like if you just play with him, wrestle with him,
personal play.
He loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, you do that.
Yeah,
I'll pass on that one. I'll definitely pass on that one.
People are asked, they'll see the videos and they'll be like, "What did you do? Was it the e-collar?" I'm like, "No, stupid. Kevin will walk through the e-collar like it doesn't exist. I use e-collar for recalls on him, but like that's not why he behaves himself around me."
Right.
I did not use the e-collar. And if that's your game with it, or prong collar, whatever collar you want to come up with, if that's your game, good luck to you.
But that's the problem, that is what most people's game is these days. That's what it is.
Yes.
Right? Oh, this is your problem? Okay, we're going to put this tool on and address the problem. And then if you talk about that, you say something about it, you're a hater, just an angry old guy. And guys, it's not going to work. Like there has to be more. There's more to this. These are living, breathing, emotional animals, and it's the totality of everything, not just this one thing that's going to fix these problems.
It's a communication enhancement. It enhances your ability, and it also enhances your lack of ability.
Sure.
So if you have a lack of ability and you're using a device like that, the worst. I think the question I hate the most, and I probably get it the most. What age can I start using the e-collar or prong collar with my dog?
Or when could I take it off?
Oh, yeah.
You get both. You get both sides.
Yes.
Hey, when could I stop using this?
And I get why people ask it. I get it. We're in the game of like, whether we like it or not, to some degree or other, we're dog famous. So people are going to ask, guys like you and guys like me these questions. But at the same time, you have to understand that from our perspective, when somebody asks us this type of question, it implies that you really don't know what you're doing with these devices and you have no business using these devices with a dog.
Right.
Because you're thinking about the training in terms of a device instead of training.
Yeah. And kind of along those lines, I think by me, I hated being associated with the tool so much. It really bothered me, right? Like it really bothered me. Until I embraced it a little bit and then said, might as well try to at least take advantage and then try to spread a better word, right? But I think at some point I tried to get away from that so hard that I think it affected people in a negative way where I wasn't pushing it enough for them.
Yes,
because
you're like detracting it.
It bothered me that that's all people wanted to do. And I think in many instances when I look back, I think I should have made it more of a part of their training, because it would have helped them a lot quicker. But I was so, like, I take so much pride in continuing to get better with the animal.
Yes.
And understanding the animal and showing it. That's why I do show the shitty as well with the good, right? I'm always trying to get better. And it bothered me so much that anybody that worked with me, they thought we could just throw an e-collar on the dog and fix this. So I wasn't making it enough of the training. Like I'd send, you send a dog home and you want people doing a lot more training than they're going to do or maybe even capable of doing, right? when this tool could really level the playing field for so many that don't have the physical capabilities or just the handling skills in general.
Yeah.
And I caught myself doing that, and I'm like, that's bullshit, because I can make these people's lives easier. But now it's an ego thing going the opposite way. I don't want them to think this is just what it's all about. So, you know, you're always going back and forth what the best thing to do is, and sometimes it gets inside your fucking head. You know? Like you saw out there, you know how strange it is for me to come to Canada and run into a lady who goes, "Are you Larry Krohn?"
Yeah,
like, that's so bizarre. I'm like in the middle of the woods here, you know, yeah, I am. It's kind of weird. You know, it's bizarre, and you know, it doesn't feel normal at times. And they think, and I'm sure you see it too, you have a huge following. They think they just give you a dog and you got this magic trick that you could fix anything.
I know.
They don't understand how much work we put into this.
No.
You know?
And they don't understand all the nuts and the bolts and the uninteresting stuff that happens.
That's a great way to put it. The uninteresting stuff that happens.
Reps, baby.
Yeah.
Reps and just repetitions. And it's not exciting. It's not, you know, we don't have the dogs like struggling on the end of the leash, you know, trying to kill us, or, you know, it's just tons of like these little meaningful reps, and it comes together. And sometimes there's those exciting moments too.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but those are like, I can't capture most of those because I'd literally have to have a camera on me all the time.
Exactly.
All the time to be like, catch that one moment where something really exciting happens, and then like 95% of the time it's like nothing particularly interesting.
Well, you talked about something recently that I really like, but again, I've always liked what you talked about. You're pretty open about shit, but you talked about seminar training.
Yeah.
It's a problem, man. And, you know, and I could speak for, like, when I do the seminars with Jay and Joel, I could speak for them too with this. Like, we don't do that.
Good.
Like we, you know, we're trying to educate people as much as possible. And so for me, the worst case scenario is when, you know, Joel has a very specific person that's coming to him. They want to learn tricks and TV stuff and commercial stuff. That's what Joel does.
Yeah.
Right. With Jay, he's brilliant with the use of play, and he's a pit bull guy. So people that are into bullies and want to do cool things, he gets problems too. Don't get me wrong, but it's usually people that want to be better, like dog people, right? A little more serious. And then for me, I always stress, are there going to be any shitty dogs here? Because the dogs make the seminar. And not to try to make things like spectacular or exciting out of the ordinary, but sometimes I'll get people that come, the dog's not motivated to even open its eyes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is the real world. And I'm sorry, people, but this would be a great time to take a break, because this isn't going to be sexy.
Yeah.
Right. But now we're just going to focus on the handler and how good are your skills with your leash. You know, do you even know how to teach a behavior? Can you use food? Can you do any luring? You know, do you understand what's your marker system? All these little things that's not very sexy, right? And none of us ever do anything to try to entertain people, right? And sometimes we'll apologize, like, sorry, there's nothing, like, this isn't the place for this. You know what I mean? But a lot of people go to seminars for entertainment.
I know. They're like there for a show. And it's like, you know, and having done a number of seminars, I have like a love-hate relationship.
Sure.
Yeah. After I do one, I say, okay, we need a big, long break. Yeah. We're not going to do another one, because the reality is you have X amount of people that paid money to train with you for 2 days on average. Just a seminar is like 2 days. So you got to get through all these people. You got to get through all their dogs, and you really want to make a meaningful difference in that short period of time.
Yeah.
And in many cases you can. But in some cases it's like, hey bro, like there's no magic answers for this. This is a long haul.
Right.
This is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that pressure is like, hey, everybody's expecting you to make, like you said, magic. And it's like, no, this one's work. This one's work. There's nothing sexy. I'm not gonna use a device or do some magical thing with this dog that's all of a sudden gonna turn him around. It's a long, slow progression.
Yeah, you know, and I tell people in the beginning, like, my goal, my true goal is that every single person is here can actually take something and use it to be a little better. Actually use it, not just, oh, that was awesome, right? But what I've learned over time, like you said, there's going to be people that get a lot out of it and they get excited and they go home and they're motivated to do things. But there's some people that no matter how much you simplify things, they just don't have it.
You see it.
They're not going to retain anything. And that's not like, you're not making fun of someone, you're not criticizing. It's just a fact. They don't have it. You know what I mean? You see people that pick up the leash and they have it.
Yes.
They just get it.
Timing, their ability to read the dog, the ability to come off of the pressure when the dog's doing the right things, to reward the dog when he's doing the right things, to prevent the dog from doing the wrong thing before he does it.
Yeah. So pet dog people, you know, was what I deal with a lot. Mostly they say, okay, let me see, work your dog, right? And what do they do? If you ask, like I remember the first time I brought my dog out and Bart said, all right, work your dog. I did a lot of different obedience. I was doing sendaways. I was doing bite work. I was doing everything that I knew that he could do, right?
Yeah.
And he was 7 months old. In the pet dog world, all right, let me see your dog's obedience. Everyone does the same thing. They take their dog and they walk around and they're whispering to the dog. They're literally walking around. And I'm like, okay, let's see some obedience now, right? I want to see how you use the leash if the dog doesn't do. How do you get the dog to do things? You know, what do you do when the dog does do what you want? What do you do when he doesn't do what you want? Right? So I do a lot. I tried to limit them, the phone consult, the video online stuff, which I never thought could be productive, but it's actually crazy productive.
Yeah.
Right? Like insanely productive. But a big part of that is I asked for 2 videos. Give me a few minutes long at least of you doing basic obedience with your dog on leash. Sometimes you're rewarding, sometimes you're not. And if you play tug with your dog, few minutes on leash, long line, playing tug with your dog, I want to see that too. Those 2 videos, you could do wonders with probably 90% of the people I work with online, because most people do nothing right. Like nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, right? So when you get a video and they have all these behavioral problems, you're like, holy shit, you're doing everything wrong. They feel bad. I'm like, no, that's awesome. No. That's awesome, because I promise you this. Now, the second we start doing the right thing, your dog's going to get better. Like, this is cake, dude. We're going to make huge changes with you. You know, I had one person like spent almost 20 grand in board and trains and was still having problems. You know, tough dog, definitely a tough dog. But I said, I guarantee you this. You spent $140 for this hour. And I said, I guarantee you I'm going to get you further than your 20 grand has. And we have. By far, because I looked at what he was doing and what other trainers had him doing when his dog's trying to go after dogs and stuff. So this is so wrong, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Like, not even funny. So you actually could do a lot online, you know.
I've ventured into online beyond just the entertainment aspect of YouTube probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, well, everybody's doing these courses and people are asking me, so maybe I'll do one. And I did it, and then I was really surprised at what people were able to do with it. Like, people were posting videos, like doing all this, like in different countries. It was cool. Like, they're doing all the stuff you're doing. Yeah. But they're in France, and there's an Eiffel Tower, and you know, she's showing like, you know, off leash obedience around the Eiffel Tower, and I'm like, that is so cool. And you could see, like, obviously for some people, they need like really in-depth in-person instruction, but there's a lot of people all around the world they could really benefit from online training.
Absolutely. And if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I'd say no.
I would have thought no, too.
Because I said no. People asked me, like, and I was like, I can't do that. Yeah. And it was one person that really wanted it and said, can you try? I said, fine, you know. And then, all right, after we talked, said, send me a video of this. I was like, wait a second. Okay. When I started asking for very specific things, I was like, holy shit, man. Like, we could do a lot. Like, we could do a lot here. We got people changing, like, with serious behavioral problems. Yeah. You know, and they'll tell you, my dog's never going to be able to do that. I'm like, no. So you're living in the past. You think you have something that you don't. We're going to get you there. And sure as shit, like, the people that want to do it, they do it wonderfully. You know, they really do. Yeah. So, but the video, couldn't do it without videos. You know, without them sending videos of what they're doing, that would not work. I couldn't do that. Okay. You know? So that's where all the benefits.
So you're doing online consultations. So you watch the videos and then you'll like talk to them and get.
Yeah, I'll ask for those 2 videos before we talk. Not everyone's. I don't make it mandatory, but I say it's going to help you a lot. I'm going to be able to help you a lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll watch the videos and be like, okay, this is where you're struggling with this, like I have to go watch a video later. I just watched a small bit of it here, and it was someone that was supposed to come this weekend, but I guess you guys have a breed ban here, and this was a
pit bull,
pretty serious, like dog and human aggressive and attacking owner type thing too. And the videos that I saw, I was like, okay, we got a big problem here, because this dog's basically saying, go fuck yourself, and you're like rewarding the shit out of him for it, and so you have to see how the dog sees things here. And I didn't read the whole thing, and I didn't watch the whole video, but all of a sudden I just saw a little of it as I was pulling in. I'm like, whoa, okay, we just talked, dude. What did you do? All of a sudden this dog's like outing and playing and doing all this stuff. Like, so I got to talk to him. Like, what did you do? Because I don't think anything I said was that mind shattering, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But sometimes people just need a little guidance, and look, this is where you're going wrong here. And I haven't worked with them yet. I just gave them a little bit of advice, so people can do it.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of people that can really benefit from online instruction. So we'll put Larry's information below, so you guys will see Larry's website. Is it a website?
Dude, you don't have to put anything.
Oh, we put it.
I don't promote shit, dude. I really don't.
We'll find it. We'll Google it. We'll find it.
Hey, there's people who are going to watch this and be like, hey, fucker, I sent your daughter an email like a month ago waiting for an online thing.
That's okay. Larry's a busy man. So you'll get in line like everybody else.
I try not to. I'm not money driven.
Sure.
Right? So, you would think if you could, I charge $140 for the hour, right? I always give way more than that because I keep talking to people after that. I don't make them keep signing up.
Sure, yeah.
But you would think, okay, I'm going to just work 5 hours a day. You're making good money. If I have 2 calls in a day, I'm like, fuck.
I know.
But I want to do 1.
I know.
And sometimes I'll have 3. Like the night before, I want to blow my brains out. I'm like, tomorrow's going to suck. And my wife's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's what you're bitching about? You have to get paid to talk to someone for, 3 different... I'm like, I know, but...
I totally get it.
I just complain no matter what,
I'm the same way. I'm like, these guys are always like, Steven's always scheduling guys for me. It's like, oh, you gotta... When can we do it? I'm like, I don't know. Because I live a very, like, unscheduled life.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be like,
dude, that's how I am too.
Yeah, like Larry's. I'm gonna go see Larry, or I'm gonna go train this, or I'm gonna go do that, or I'm gonna go, drive down to the States this weekend. And it's all like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next week.
The same way.
I don't know what I'm gonna do the week after. So when you try and schedule me in for stuff, I end up missing it. Mm-hmm. And then people get upset, and they think it's like because I'm just like, I'm just a douchebag and I don't care about them. And it's not really that. It's
dude, you're singing my song. I'm the same exact way. Like, I stress over the thing because I don't want to have things planned.
No, because that's like, you're an obligated.
That's right.
Yes.
And the day before I may decide I want to go do, you know how many seminars I miss out on? I want to be the student.
Yeah.
I don't want to do seminars anymore. Like, I'm going to my first seminar in years. I'm going to see Lars Lentz in February down in Mississippi. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm going to be like such a little kid, dude. I haven't been to a seminar in, I think Tobias Olenek was the last one in Tennessee, actually. What's his name was there?
Diamond?
Yeah, Diamond was there. A lot of people out in Eastern Tennessee. But that's had to be 7-8 years ago, I bet.
Wow.
I would think so. I think it was probably about that long. And that's the last one I've ever attended.
I did a Tobias seminar. Actually.
Did you?
I did one, in North Carolina. Very much like, it's like the same thing as Yogi's Hank, but Yogi's, in my personal opinion, I'm sure Tobias is a great guy, but Yogi is like very much more my style, like straight to the point, very like, just direct. He's a direct trainer. Direct in his pressure, direct in his reward. Everything's direct. I love directness. So I really like Yogi's way of training, but they're trading off, like, I think they both learned from Bart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tobias is great guy, great trainer too. Very compassionate with the animal too. Good dude. But that's the last one I've been to, man. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
And every time I see one, there was a couple Debbie Zappia seminars coming up I wanted to get to, and I was like, I have seminars.
You have seminars. Yeah.
It's like, this sucks, and it makes you hate it, right?
I've done seminars, and I'm like, always at the end, I'm like, I definitely wouldn't be doing this every month. And then There's funny. You're talking about the e-collar seminar. I did one e-collar seminar, and I said after this, I don't think I'll do another one.
Gave it or went to?
No, I gave it.
It's the worst.
It was the worst. There was so many dogs here that had no business being on an e-collar because
The worst. Yeah.
there was so much work to be done without an e-collar. But you're like, but it's an e-collar seminar, so you kind of almost feel obligated to use one. But it's like, for this dog, this is not what he needs.
That was my first 3 seminars. They sucked because of it. I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. I said, never again, man. I'm done. No more of that shit. And I can't tell you, I think there's been one dog in all these seminars, and about 1,000 people last year, we saw one dog where I put an e-collar on a dog to help something, to enhance something.
Yeah.
Not even to fix something, like to punish something.
Just to make it better.
One time. Like, that's how little we turn to the e-collar.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare. Now, if someone wants to introduce it or make it better, that's one thing, and that's still even rare. But it's very rarely ever something that's going to come in. And that's why when Bart was doing the seminars, I hear people complain sometimes too, because there wasn't enough e-collar stuff.
Most Nepo pose without the
Yeah, I was like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're bitching about? Like, this blew my mind. Like, I'm still trying to comprehend everything. You don't want to learn dog training. You just want to see some magic tool do all the work, and it's not going to work that way.
It's funny. So, like, I have a little puppy I'm building right now, and she's a really nice little female. One hell of a training challenge. Shepherd. You know the bitch that won the WSV last year?
Yeah.
I got the daughter. I got the full daughter.
Sweet.
So, she was like really social, open puppy, but like not so food motivated, like mediocre food drive, which always makes training a little bit fun, especially around distractions, and very like, she just has a scatterbrain, like, oh, there's a butterfly, takes off. Some puppies are very much into the training once you show them. It took me months to finally get her like invested in the training and invested in working for food. It's not as simple as just starving them. A lot of people think, oh, you just starve them and they'll work. No, that's not how it works. No. You have to make the act, because they don't take enough value from just eating.
Right,
like,
right.
For them, some dogs, just like some humans, really enjoy the act of consumption.
That's me.
And yeah, I fucking love consuming. Oh, don't worry, buddy. We're gonna go somewhere. We'll do some consuming.
I like to consume.
I do too. I love it, especially like a nice dessert or something. But like, some dogs don't get much out of that, and you have to make it about more than the act of consumption.
Yeah.
And just keep at it. And so with her, it's been fun, because it's just a different type of, like, my dog Gage that you saw, he's like, he loves food. Like, he would hurt my hand to take the food.
Yeah,
like, he was that
Dante is too.
Just like, and it's great from training. It makes it so easy.
Yeah.
In some ways. But anyways, yeah, with this bitch, she's like 7 months old, and people are like, oh, have you started? I haven't even put a pinch collar on her.
Right, right.
She's on a flat collar. And guess what? I'm not a Nepopo guy that, like, there's some guys that are like so in the system, like everything is with the system, but I use principles from it to this day, because I really like some aspects of the system. And I do a ton of Nepopo without a pinch collar, without an e-collar. It's all flat collar, leash collar, or maybe at worst a collar that closes a little bit.
Right, right.
Because it's just pressure release. And you don't need devices like that for pressure and release. That's all you're teaching the dog, is to come through the pressure. So, it's interesting, people always are like thinking, oh, it's that. And then for me, if you guys watch me, like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like, you saw me train my dog a little bit, but like sometimes I'll go heavy. Like, I'll go heavy, but I'm not going heavy to like punish him.
Right, right.
I'm going heavy to open him.
Yeah.
But people don't get that.
No, they don't.
And
that's probably my downfall. Yeah. Like, I'm very conservative with pressure. Like, I could probably benefit from putting a little more pressure on Dante.
Well,
right.
I'm sure you know what it does.
Yeah, like my mouths, I never needed it.
No,
and it didn't benefit them.
No,
right.
They have it all. They have it intrinsically.
Yeah, with Dante, there's times where he kind of, like, not checks out, but the intensity
he's
is
not
there.
Going at 100.
Yeah,
Malinois go at 100.
Yeah,
generally.
You're right, and he is a really intense dog usually too. But every now and then I'll see, like on this trip, he's been different. So last night I went out at midnight. Come on, buddy, let's go.
Let's play.
And we just went and played. And this morning he was like back to his, looks like he's smiling. Because even I posted a picture of him yesterday and like someone was like, that's the first time I ever saw a picture where he doesn't look like he's smiling. I'm like, yeah, he's been a little off today. Like he's never been like this, but I do think he tweaked something in his fucking leg too.
Yeah.
You know,
that shepherd's always injured, and they're a little more, you have to be more aware of the emotion. Like I think a lot of the times when you train with Malinois, they bring that emotion so naturally because they're just literally bred to heavily enjoy, you know, doing things with you.
Yeah.
They're like a border collie, basically.
Yeah. No, it is. Like my first Mal, he made me look much better than I am, dude.
Yeah.
He was a once in a lifetime dog. I wish I would have started doing something with him in this sport. But then again, he started having seizures at a year, so I couldn't.
That's terrible.
But he's a one of a kind. Like I'll remember at 4 months old, like he took off after a cat, you know, and you know, he saw an e-collar for the first time. He was 9 or 10 months old.
Yeah.
Like he took off after a cat and I called him back and he hit the brake so hard and came flying back. I was like, holy fuck, man.
Just fast twitch.
Everything. Like
fast.
Going for a drink of water. To this day at 12 years old, he doesn't walk to the water bowl. It's every bit of speed that he has where he's sliding and crashing into the wall to get a drink of water. And then I have to cut him off. I have to monitor his water because if he has a big giant bowl there, he'll drink it straight down and then just projectile vomit it. So you would think that he's going to be 12, right? You would think and he's on heavy meds because of the seizures. You would think that he'd be like calm. But now when people have to come over to take care of my dogs, if I travel, they're like, I don't have to do anything for him. He does everything himself. I just open the pen. I'm like, oh yeah. Like you tell him to do something, he meets you one time, he'll do anything you tell him to do. You know? Awesome. Yeah. So then I get Dante and it's like the agility isn't there. Like even I wish I would have teach the come around for the heel instead of the flip heel.
The entry.
Right? Because my friggin', you know, my mouths have real nice healing and turn. It's tight.
Yeah.
With Dante, I realized this dog's long. It's very different. You know, I wish I would have went a different route, but now like, fuck it. Now I want to fix it this way instead of just giving up on it.
Yeah. No, that's the problem. It's always like you can make more power with a shepherd, but it's all about, you have to be an expert at classically conditioning emotions to specific behaviors. So it's like he needs to feel the right way in that behavior, and that's the big challenge I enjoyed with, like, I competed with Malinois for a little bit, like I had one.
Yeah.
And I always know I will go back. I will get another Malinois at some point, I hope, you know, as long as I stay in the sport. But the shepherds I like because you've really got to play on their emotions.
Yeah, you sure do.
You know?
You sure do. You sure do.
And it's not like what people think where it's like, hey buddy, please. It's you've got to, whatever kind of floats that dog's boat.
Yeah.
You know, I like it. It's just a different kind of training, and you get so much more in tune with I call it entering the matrix, because sometimes you like are training and you and him both get there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, we're both here.
Yeah.
And you just know the dog's giving. He's at 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Miles an hour. He's at 100. He's giving you everything he's got. And it's like, you know, he can't give more.
I already know a big part of my downfall that I have to change is, like, we do go places to train, right? And he does wonderful and train. Like, he loves, if he sees the truck, like, he's running to the truck and trying to get it himself. Like, and he'll be full power with everything we do. But I have to make it, I can't just go to other places. I'm starting to see it has to be more trial-like.
Yeah.
There has to be a little more stress in the travel. There has to be a little, I can't go 15 minutes away from my house to a field he's seen or we drive by.
Yeah.
I have to go places we've never been where there's people. I got to leave him in the crate a little longer. Like, I have to make bigger days out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, when we do trial, you know, he's not going to be him full. I already see it. I saw it on this trip for the first time, you know, and I saw it when we did the BH too. He wasn't himself. And, you know, I got there a day early. I probably needed to be there 2 or 3 days early.
Yep.
And got on the field more than once and just really let him get accustomed to all that thing. So you learn as you go, you know.
Part of the reason I go to seminars is actually not just for the seminar. It's to give my dog that trial-like experience, because there's all these people there. They've all got their dog.
Yeah.
You're coming out on the field. You're doing work on the field and stuff. So it's like, it's an excellent way to kind of show the dog that trial picture without him actually doing trials.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I would have, like I said, if I planned the day better and knew how far you are, I wish I would have come out to do some tracking. I really do, because like I say, that's hitter. And it's funny because that's the thing I'm least nervous about.
Yeah, it's the track.
Like, it's funny. It's like, listen, he's either going to do it. It's up to him. I'm just here for the ride along. Protection, I'm not too worried about, even though he's done very little work with the helper, but I'm very careful about who I let him bite.
Good.
Like, I don't fucking just let anyone handle my dog. But the obedience, that send out scares me. Like,
It's only 10 points, baby. If he doesn't do the track, that's a DQ. Like,
yeah, right. But he does. His biggest problem lately has been the speed on the tracking.
Okay.
He's going a little too fast, and so I'll start making some changes on that to help him there. But to be honest with you, if he gets penalized for being too fast, but he stays on the track and he finds every article, I really don't give a damn.
No,
I really don't. You know what I mean?
If he's consistently fast through the track and finds every article, you really won't lose his mind.
And I can tell you what the big part of it is. He's way too food motivated. Like, he's
having a good time.
It's bad. Like,
it's time for a little pressure.
If there's anything where he knows there's going to be food involved, like, he's full bore. Like, I wish his food drive was a little less.
Yeah,
I really do. But it's up there. It's high.
It's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's a good and a bad.
Yeah, for training everything else, it's been it's fantastic. For the tracking, he's always been quite a bit. So
fine. I've really taken to tracking. I used to hate it.
Me too.
I've said it before, and I've lately, I have taken to it. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm still anxious about it on trial day because that's the only thing I can't really impact. Like, I can help him in obedience.
Mm-hmm.
I can help him in protection. I cannot help him on the track. Very well. That's not true. There are things you can do to help him, but fundamentally, if he makes a big enough mistake, that's your whole trial gone.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for putting it that way, fuckface. Now it's all I'll be thinking about. Wait a second. I wasn't worried about tracking.
You should have.
He doesn't get this, I'm done.
I walked into regionals this year. I was like, we're going to fucking kill it. Like, the track, because his IG, I just tracked it. I just done a trial maybe 2-3 weeks before, and it was like perfect. Right. So I'm like, okay, we're going to murder this. Walked in full of confidence, put him on the track. Souk, dog starts tracking. I could see he was struggling a little bit, but very good emotion, tail up, which is always a good sign. When the tail drops and you start to see the tons of hunting behavior, you're like, oh no, baby. Fight nails that first corner, about all the way to the second corner, but I didn't know. You couldn't see the track.
Yeah.
Couldn't see it.
I fucking hate that.
So you didn't know whether he was making a mistake or not. So I just kept going with him. And then he started showing that hunting behavior. Tail was still up, but hunting behavior, and pushing. And then the judge was like, done. Because you step over the corner, you're done. If you see the corner, so at Nationals, on the last corner, I saw it. He went over it, and I just stopped. Because I stopped, he was like maybe 2 body lengths over the corner, and he wanted to keep hunting forward. And which, by the way, I know I'm fixing that. But I stopped. And I just waited. And he hunted around and ran into the leash a couple times, then went and found that last leg and finished it. If I'd kept going, who knows what would have happened.
So you're allowed to stop?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's points.
Yeah, I'm glad.
But I'll take points versus fail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you shoot over the corner, you don't have to keep walking. There's nothing that says you have to keep walking.
It's little things like that, right? Like, during the VH, if it wasn't for the guy who went before me, who told me, listen, if he messes up the long down, just fix him. Like, I'm like, you sure? Like, I could do that. It's like, just fix him there. This is the BH.
Yeah.
Lenient. If he didn't say that to me, I would have just stood there and accepted the failure and hoped he didn't just come all the way to. I would have done that. But because he said that to me, I turned around. I was like, in my head, I'm going, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah.
But those little things, like, because I would assume without like reading the rules over and over, I would have just followed my dog. Like, I can't help him. So to me, I take it if I stop here, I'm helping him. You know what I mean?
See an article up ahead, you're afraid he might run it? Slow down a little bit. Let there be a little drag on the line. You might get a point or two for handler help, but it's not a world level competition.
It's funny. He does really well on the articles normally, right?
Yeah.
And he had a tremendous track last week. He did really well. I made it a little more difficult on him, but he blew all 3 articles. And the reason why, I was in some pretty high grass.
Yep.
And they kind of fell in the grass.
Yep.
And they were hard to see.
Yep.
Right. And I did get on him a little bit on that and made him come back. And I'm hoping that registered and he learned something in that moment, because I know I did.
Yeah.
I learned something in that moment.
You got to run them in everything.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like for me with nationals, I wish I'd had, for whatever reason around here, I just could not find long grass.
Yeah.
And it was in hay. On sod, my dog's pretty strong on sod. He's pretty good on dirt, but in grass, like long grass, they need that experience of tracking in that rough, long grass.
I haven't done much of that too. Either.
Otherwise, they start, especially when there's no reinforcement for like a couple legs, the head starts coming up. When the head comes up, they miss the articles,
Sure.
miss the corners, points, potential failure.
Has there been one person in the sport that's been more influential than others in tracking or any of the disciplines?
No. There's been multiple people that have helped me at different times with different things that I've understood in the sport. So like a guy like Yogi Zeg, he really kind of like opened my mind to how this type of training should be, right? Like the Nepo pull principles, how to kind of teach all the behaviors. That was like, I don't know, 8 years ago I did that seminar, and it really helped me with a lot of things. And there's been guys, like Diamond. You really helped me understand how to prepare a dog for competition on the track, maybe. Then there's been guys like Stefan, Stefan Shop, and, a lot of the mechanical work he's been doing, like he showed me with the e-collar and dumbbell holds and stuff like this. So there's been, tons of guys that, that have helped me at different places where maybe I was plateaued, stuck, needing an idea. So like, I don't go to these people with the idea to like change everything.
Yeah.
But I go with the intention of like, give me something.
Well, here's the thing. When you're at a level that you're at, when you've been doing this long enough, you could spend 3 days at a seminar. If you just take one little thing, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
You know what I mean? As to where if you're in your first 5 years, even maybe 10 years for a lot of people, so much is going to be new that you're taking. But when you've been doing this long enough and you're doing the sport dog and the pet dog thing, it's really hard to learn something new, right? So when you get just that one little thing that makes a difference, that could have a huge, huge value.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it as much as you can. Get out.
Oh, I need to, dude.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. You get together with some guys.
I'd be the annoying kid. I might be the oldest person there, and I'd be the annoying.
No, you're
kid.
not the oldest person.
Because I love it, and it's been so long, and I don't get to interact with dog people. Like this is the much I get to interact with dog people. I do someone's podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just don't get to hang out on a regular basis and just like hang out and pick people's brains and share notes and shit. You know what I mean? But that's my goal, to get back to that.
That's the benefit of the sport.
Yeah.
It's like you can just get out there and see everybody's work and learn something from somebody always,
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. Oh, I want to show you something. Whoa. All right, Larry, I wanted to show you something. I'm not even going to say where I bought this, but this is the type of collar that is being used in some places in Europe right now.
Holy shit.
Because now certain collars have been banned.
Wow.
Things like e-collars and prong collars have been banned in many countries.
So these nut jobs that think they know what prong collars do, this actually does it. That's not a prong collar.
When I saw it, I bought it because I wanted not to use it. I wanted it just as like as a antique almost, like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted it just something to hang on the wall because it's so crazy to me. And by the way, Larry, that's the small one. There's one with, those are 1/2 inch. There's one with 1 inch.
That's sharp. That's like straight up nails.
It's a nail. And by the way, that's like professionally made. They make them with roofing nails too, like just a guy in his back.
And it just looks like a flat leather collar.
You would never know.
And this is what comes out of the
banning
stupid
tools.
ban.
Because the tools are actually, like, these ideas have existed since the dawn of time, but the tools are the more humane
Yeah.
Like, hey, prong collar might look barbaric. It isn't that. It is way better than that.
This is barbaric.
Oh, can you imagine?
This is
Put it on your arm. Feel it.
Yeah, no, this is brutal. Like, this is really,
Give yourself a tug on that thing.
no, you couldn't tug. That's pain. Right?
That it would.
Prong collar is not pain. You got to go pretty damn hard on a dog for it to actually be painful. Those things are rounded. Those points on a prong collar, good prong collar especially, right? They're pretty blunt. This is like, you go hard on this is puncturing a dog's neck.
So it's not that people are going to change what they do, because fundamentally what works, it works. And, you know, you're not going to stop people. Listen, they've banned drugs. How well's that turned out?
I've said that same analogy for years. It's like, yeah, heroin's illegal, you know?
This would not exist, or it wouldn't be to the point where I could go and buy this at a well-known, I'll never say where I got it, but like, I got it, and I didn't get it from like some back alley.
I can't believe Zach George is selling those.
I didn't want to say it. This is what happens when you ban tools, is people do things like this.
Yeah.
It's not that they stop using pressure. It's that they start using much more crude forms of pressure. And the result is the dogs, this only causes the dogs to lose.
Yeah. The second you have to hide something, the dog's always going to lose.
Of course.
Always going to lose.
You know?
That's important that people see that. Like, that's brutally important.
And you're not going to stop. There's nothing you can, like, this is like, you would never know, as you said. And people can literally, I've seen these homemade, by the way, where they'll take a 2-ply leather, they'll separate it, and they'll put roofing nails in. I've seen those, actual roofing nails. And then they'll cover it. And it's like, yeah, there's my collar. You'll never see it on a video that I used it, but there's the collar now that I can use in my country where everything and its mother is banned.
Wow.
Right?
What a shame.
That's what happens. That's what happens. And people think, we've got those prong collars banned, or those e-collars banned. Now we're
that on a dog would be going to buy his own prong collar.
That'd be like, please give me a prong collar.
That's important that people see the effects of what they do. You know?
Oh, listen, there's more stories. I'm not going to get into them, of like the things that they have to do now in Europe.
Yeah.
Because look, at the end of the day, if you want to train and handle strong dogs, there must be some pressure, and it must come from somewhere. And we can debate all day whether it's fair pressure, if we should do this or do that. But at the end of the day, people are still going to use the pressure because they want to be successful in whatever pursuit they're in.
You know, the funny thing about that, has what you just said about strong dogs. The first sport dog seminar, working dog seminar, whatever, I don't know, 2010, 2011, maybe, is when Bart Ballone first came here to start doing seminars again. And I tell people all the time, that day changed me forever. What I saw, I couldn't believe my eyes, because up until that point, and I had been training dogs probably 14, 15 years at that time. The dogs that I saw at that seminar, I didn't know existed. I had no idea they existed. Like, there were dogs that were so much over the top, like insane, so strong, I didn't know they existed. So for me, when I saw that lit the fire. I said, okay, if I could handle and work dogs like this, if I understand these dogs, these pet dogs are going to be nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to make it so much easier for me, right? And then that day, I changed everything. The way I thought about things, my goals in training, and how I wanted to be with the dogs I wanted to work with. But like, the people that caused that to be made, they don't see dogs like that.
Or if they do, I've already seen there's a bit of a push to ban them.
Right.
They say it's not, I've literally seen a trainer say this. She's a force breed trainer. She says it's not ethical to breed aggressive dogs with thin thresholds and high prey drive. It should be banned.
Yeah. And what's our military and police going to do from there? Right. I mean, come on now, you didn't have a poodle out there finding the guy up in Pennsylvania this week.
Oh yeah, the murderer,
right?
Yeah,
come on again. But then again, it all snowballs. Why was that guy here to be able to do that? Right?
I think strength makes a lot of people uncomfortable because they're not strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the toughest guy out there. I'm not the strongest guy, biggest guy. There's plenty of guys that are more of that than I am. But I appreciate strength for what it is, and I love animals that are full God-given strength.
Sure.
And I love working with those animals, whether it's a horse, a dog, a fish. It's so cool to me. It's like this, like this is like a piece of nature. You know, it's just so primal. It's a beautiful thing. It's like looking at a mountain range.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah.
And there's people that makes them uncomfortable because that doesn't fit their worldview.
Of course.
Their worldview that's born of fragility, self-entitlement, all these other things. But that strength, when they see a dog like that, like, I'll give you an example. I posted a video of, you saw my dog, but his father, who I used to have.
Yeah.
Posted a video of him. He was at a recent seminar, and the handler brought the dog to the seminar. I haven't seen that dog in 2.5 years. And so he brings the dog with the muzzle on. And this dog was always like really, really aggressive dog. I was curious if the dog would remember me. The dog didn't even wait to remember me. He just muzzle punched me, just came for me right away. And I laughed because I'm like, oh, that's you.
Yeah.
That's you.
See, but that side doesn't see dogs for what they really are. You know, I raised a dog. Me and my family raised a dog a few years back. His name was Halo. It was a shepherd. We raised him for a wounded soldier. We got him as a puppy, 8 weeks old, and we raised him for 1.5 years and then delivered him to this soldier. Now, my dogs are crazy about me. This was a family dog. My kids, my wife, everything, right? My big concern was delivering that dog. Me and my daughter spent some few days with the family, spent some time. The strangest thing about this dog was when we got to the house the first time, he just went in the yard and he acted like he had lived there his whole life. And I'm like, this is so bizarre. Like, my dogs have never acted like, my dogs don't want to leave. They're just looking at me like, hey, we're going to do something cool. When we left that dog, it was hard for me. He was fine, right? About 2 years later, they came to visit. They were driving through the area and they came to visit. That dog made like he didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's a dog. But people, especially weak-minded people, they don't want them to be who they really are. No. They put these human thoughts of this needy child of what the dog is, and they're not.
No.
That dog, it took me a while to even get comfortable enough to work with. This was a dog that was crazy about me.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden, no, this is my family now. I don't even know you. I was like, holy shit, man. I was shocked. I got to be honest with you. I was shocked.
I wasn't sure what to expect because I got that dog in 3.5, and he was like that when I got him.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that he attacked me just because it reminded me of like what he was like at the beginning.
Sure.
And then, you know, there's tons of videos of him on my social media if you don't believe me. And I titled that dog to a 3.
Yeah.
Didn't attack a judge, never had a problem in a trial. Everything was as it should be. And you wouldn't know. I walked that dog off leash everywhere. But he was always still that dog.
Yeah, yeah.
He was just a little more buttoned up because I couldn't let him be.
But there's people that would rather see him dead.
Literally, comments, put him down, unstable, horrible. It's like, who are you to determine the life or death of this animal?
That dog's perfectly happy doing what he's doing.
Happy. You can see him. He attacked me. He was so happy. He was so proud of himself. Like, he walked away like, yeah, fuck that guy. You know?
That's great, man.
And I just love that. I love animals. And it's not that I love like just dangerous, aggressive animals, but I love an animal that's comfortable in his own power and being who he is to the greatest extent. Like, I love it when Kevin's behind a fence just being an ass with everybody he doesn't know.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
Kevin is an ass.
That's what he wants to do. He was bred to do that.
Yes, that's right.
Well, am I going to be mad at him?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people, because we live in this world that allows them to be so removed from nature, they don't appreciate that.
Sure. Well, you look at any dog on IGP field, the PSA field, those dogs aren't sad to be there. They're pretty damn happy doing what they're doing at that moment. They're not forced to do that.
No.
Right.
And they've gone through a lot. There's a thing. There's many opportunities for those dogs to quit in training and in trials and stuff like this. And for the dog to be there is a testament to that dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of, sometimes I look at my dog and he's not like a superstar dog. I look at him and I'm like, wow, bro, I don't know that I would still be here with all the things that we've had to do to get to this point. It's not been easy.
I've always had so much respect for especially that sport, right? Because like when you see people going to the top with dog after dog, it's mind blowing.
Yes.
Like even before I was even attempting to get in the sport, right? I still knew how impressive that was. And that I've always pushed pet dog people, like, you have to go learn from sport dog people. You just have to, right? I've never gone to a pet dog trainer seminar or worked with a pet dog trainer in my life. And it's not a bragging thing. I just never have, because I always found value on the other side to bring to that side.
Yes.
So except for the first trainer that I ever worked with that got me into training, I've never gone to work with a pet dog trainer. Not saying that I couldn't benefit from it. That's not what I'm saying. But I just always found more value on learning from that other side to benefit what I was mostly doing on the pet dog side. And it has. It's helped me a great deal,
Who was your training mentor?
The first trainer I ever worked with, I wouldn't even say I have a mentor, right? But the guy who got me into training, his name was Rocky Boatman. And I think that was in 96, I believe it was. And that was what blew me away. He just had the best behaved dogs I had ever seen. And that's what I was interested in. That's why I got so involved with the behavior side of things. That's all I wanted. So with my own dogs, I barely did obedience. Like, it was like just really big. I wanted well-behaved dogs. I had Rottweilers. I wanted to be able to take them anywhere, and I was pretty good at that. And then around 2010, 2011, the first time I saw Bart at a seminar, that blew me away. That's what introduced me to that side of things.
Would you say Bart's probably in the last 10 years been the most influential trainer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've always given him credit, right? He's like, there's people that have spent a lot of time with him that could consider him a mentor. He just really influenced and lit the fire under me big time. Like, big time. And I've seen him do things with dogs where I was just like, one of the things that blew me away the most, I had a friend who was coming to one of his seminars, and this was like the third or fourth one I was going to. Her name is Shannon. Hi, Shannon. And she just had this goofy friggin' lab, TJ. I mean, goofy is all hell.
Yeah.
I said, would you have a working spot with Bart for what you wanted to do? She's like, I wanted to do some bite work. I was like, oh, Shannon, like, that's not going to work, right? This is TJ. He's not going to bite anything. She's like, well, if he doesn't, it's okay. I just want to see what he can do. I was like, why don't you come up with something else so you take advantage while you're here? She's like, nah, if you can't do it, that's fine. And when she told Bart, he didn't flinch, and he just put him on a tie back, and the dog showed nothing, and he just kept doing different things. And within 10 minutes, that dog was biting everything. I was like, what the fuck, bro? What did I just watch? Awesome. What did I just watch?
Yeah.
What was the final thing that triggered that dog off? A flirt pole. Not chasing the flirt pole, using it around his feet, annoying his feet, touching the dog here, touching the dog there, not causing pain to make the dog angry.
Yes.
Right? Just putting an annoying kind of pressure on the dog. Finally, the dog said, okay, now I want to bite things. I was like, now I've seen it all. Like, that floored me on that moment. I literally said, I can't believe what I just watched. Like, that was pure mastery right there. Like, it was pretty awesome, Cool shit.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I love going to a seminar and being like, seeing like somebody who's a master at the craft.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
like,
awesome.
It's so cool to see. And, I always like to learn from seeing trainers work with dogs that maybe aren't so oriented to do what you want them to do, whether it's bite work, whether it's, specific obedience behavior, because you watch how they problem solve it or things that they do to try and help that dog.
Yeah.
And you can learn. It's like, I don't go to a seminar really. Like, I always usually get working spots just because I told you I like the trial experience for my dog. But like, I'll go to watch more than to do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know I'll get something.
You're better. I tell people all the time, you're better off with an audit spot than a working spot. Yeah. Much better off. You're going to get more out of it. And you're not worried about your dog and you're missing shit, right?
That's right.
And back to that too, like, I've always played with my dogs, right? Played a lot of fetch, done things like that. But I definitely give Ivan credit for making me better at that. Like, he's influenced so much people on that side of things.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to get better at that. And I will say this, his use of punishment is one of the most powerful things I've ever learned in dog training. And I really am constantly trying to master that. And I do pretty well with it. but the way he sees punishment as opposed to negative reinforcement has literally been, you know, probably the most powerful thing I've ever learned in dog training.
Let me say this about that, and then let you, maybe you could, I don't know how much you're comfortable saying about it, but like, is it fundamentally that most people think they're punishing, but in fact they're just negatively reinforcing?
100%.
Stop.
100%. Right? And so anyone who knows me knows I share everything for free. Yeah. Good or bad, I share it. I don't share that because I'm always respectful. If I made changes to that kind of work, even though I was doing something similar, I made changes because of Ivan that were so powerful. And I told him I'll never share this. But when I work with someone, whether you're at a seminar, you're a client, I do a board, then I'm obligated to teach you everything I know.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But I'm always respectful. And listen, I think it's important. I think, you know, a lot of us call him the big three, right? I think Michael Ellis has influenced more people on the pet dog side of the world.
Just the marker training.
Than anyone because of the marker training.
Yeah.
Right? He packaged it. A lot of people on the pet dog side can't understand Ivan, can't understand Bart.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mean the language thing. It's way over their head.
Yes.
Anyone can comprehend Michael Ellis.
So he was, as I was a young trainer and starting to learn about like the complexities of shaping behavior, so on and so forth, I remember reading the articles multiple times.
Yeah.
And watching the videos of him explaining marker training.
Me too.
Multiple. Not one time.
Yeah, I watched them
multiple times to try and understand. And then I put it into practice.
Right.
Multiple times.
Well, that's like when I was in Ivan's course a couple years ago, right? I remember I heard a trainer go, I went through that course twice. I was like, twice? Are you serious? They're like, oh, yeah. They thought it was like a big deal. I'm like, I couldn't tell you how many times I went through that course. Like, I couldn't tell you. It was especially certain parts over and over. Are you 2 times?
Yeah.
You don't learn that. You don't take anything of that much complexity going over it 2 times. It's something I want to go over and over again. But yes, which you said, the difference between negative reinforcement and punishment, it's game changing for people that understand it. But the majority of people, I call it porn training. Yeah. What do people do when they want to stop something and they're struggling? Louder, harder, louder, harder.
Yes.
That's it. Yes. Oh my God, louder, harder.
It's like porn training. Stop, but you can see in the dog's behavior that he stopped now.
It's temporary.
He will do it again.
100%.
He's not done with it.
100%.
And there's a difference. Like I always preach, like when you're punishing, whether it's to my trainer or to a client, if we're punishing an unwanted behavior, I want to see in the dog's body language that he understands that thing that he just got punished for is finished. He doesn't perceive that it's a possibility anymore. And most of the times what I see when people punish the dog with whatever device you want to name is that the dog gets prevented from exhibiting the behavior further.
That's it.
But you see in his mind,
the mind has changed.
In his tails, he's like, next time, motherfucker.
Yep, the mind has changed. And actually, like, I understood that part of it for a long time. And the first person I heard say it probably 5 years ago at the IACP conference, and Jay Jack, my buddy Jay that I do the seminars with, he was giving a presentation on fucking flexi leads, out of all things, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
But someone asked a question about punishment, and Jay said, that's not punishment.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, yes, it is. Because, see, if you live by those definitions of the quadrants, oh, no, you're adding something aversive to stop a behavior you don't like. That's punishment. Yeah, live by those definitions all you want, but I tell you what, it doesn't tell the whole picture.
It doesn't.
Right? And Jay said, that's not punishment. That's negative. And I literally said, I think my exact words, I was sitting in the front, I was like, motherfucker, it's about time. Because at that time, I hadn't seen anyone else understand the difference between the two. He was the first person, and I was so relieved that he wasn't at least going to think that I was crazy, right? But that's what people think, because they just go by definitions of 4 quadrants.
Yes. It's very myopic. It's like trying to look at a forest through binoculars. You're going to see some stuff.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing all of it.
Yep. You miss so much if you just think, what quadrant am I in?
I always say this about quadrants. You don't get to decide.
No, exactly.
The dog, I don't care what you did. I don't care if you shot him with a gun he'll tell you what you did.
Well, I wrote a little article once I got a lot of grief on because I called it the fifth quadrant.
Yeah.
Now, mathematically, that doesn't make sense, right?
Sure.
But none of that stuff in those quadrants have to do with the most important part, and that's that human end of the leash. And that's what everybody wants to ignore. I don't care how the dog perceives things from you. What does the dog perceive from that? What is that owner understanding and being able to be able to follow? It doesn't matter what you or I do with a dog. If we can't educate the owner to keep things going, make things even progress for the life of the dog, what we did is temporary.
Exactly.
It's temporary.
That's the challenge as a trainer.
Absolutely.
Is like, yeah, I'll take your reactive dog in 3 days. He ain't going to be reactive anymore. He's going to walk around like a gentleman on a leash and be a good boy. But that's not the point.
Right.
The point is, can I get you there?
Right.
And it's so many little things that, like you said it.
Yeah.
So many, I'll say this. So the last seminar I was at in Florida, the biggest mistakes I saw people making, actually, the seminar was a little different. Maybe it's people that were in the online courses or something. They had good obedience. Everybody had good obedience for the most part. There was a few exceptions. Like the dogs would heel. They knew, they were familiar with certain devices, so on and so forth. The dogs could sit and recall and down. They all couldn't just be, though.
Right.
They couldn't be.
Yes.
Like they couldn't, it was always
They couldn't do nothing.
Like they
couldn't do nothing.
Like not all of them, I shouldn't say all, but like a lot of them.
Yes.
And a lot of people had working line dogs. So like they had like the working shepherds and Dutchies and the Malleys and stuff. And these dogs were wired. And people think it's normal for the breed. Yeah, it is, but you don't have to put up with it.
It's the most basic thing you could teach. Teach your dog how to do nothing. What's the most basic thing? No, it's not sit. It's not down. Be still. That's the most basic thing. You just be still. Just be with me.
Just hang out, bro.
That's it.
Calm down.
That's it. If your dog can't do that, we're going to have problems.
And that's what I found. A lot of people think, okay, my dog's reactive. My dog's X, Y, Z, whatever problem he has. Let me fix it by giving him an obedience command to occupy him instead of actually addressing the fundamental problem.
That's it.
Hey, you're an idiot around. You get over-aroused, overexcited, maybe a little insecure around other dogs. Let's fix that.
Yeah.
Before we worry about making him heel around.
Yeah, 100%. Sure.
I always tell people, and you can tell me what you think of this. If they're like dog is obedience trained, which, I'm running into more and more people who have pretty good obedience. Sure. The dog's good. Like he'll do all this stuff, but the dog's reactive or this or that. The dog's in obedience, and you'll see the other dog come in, and right away they're put sit, foos, heel, whatever, right? Down, come, look. I say, no, free the dog. Break him. I don't care if he can do these obedience commands.
Right.
Break him. I want to see what he does when he's not told.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. You put him in a command, he's still restrained.
He's restrained.
Yeah. Even if you're not physically restraining him, it's not authentic.
And you see it in the behavior.
And the problem is, for me, it's 20% of importance, obedience, 80% behavior.
Default.
It's like, it's no different with fitness, right? I change the way I look quite often. I never change the way I work out. I always work out.
Yeah.
Like I never stopped working out. I look the way I look. Either I'm big and heavy like I am now, because I'm eating poorly, right? When I trim down and lose 30 pounds, people think I'm bigger. Like, what are you doing? No, I'm not bigger. I'm smaller. I didn't change my workouts. I'm eating right. I dropped all the shit that I'm eating, and I'm giving my body what it needs, because the nutrition is 80% of it.
Yeah.
The working out's 20%. See, you could work out every single day of your life, and if you eat like shit, you could never change the way you look. You may look the same, but you can go without working out at all. And if you just start eating properly, you can completely change your appearance.
It's funny. I was going to talk to you about this, actually, because I'm like, Larry, like I've seen some pictures of you on Facebook, and, not that I swing that way, but I was like, God damn, you look good in some of those pictures.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? Because I'm not someone that posts pictures with my shirt off, and there's nothing to post. I got a big belly right now, right? I'm just, I lift weights. I stay fairly muscular, but I didn't think nothing about this as when I posted that picture, I can't tell you how many messages I got. Like, dude, like there are side effects to the TRT and stuff. I'm like, but I'm not doing TRT. I'm 51 years old.
You should be.
Well, that's the next point. I didn't realize that like all my friends that are over 40 years old are all doing it.
Yeah.
So of course people are going to think I'm doing it. Like I just got my blood done because I was convinced my testosterone was super low because I was just really feeling bad. It was 480. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Especially for 50.
But that's not on TRT. But the reason it's even that high, I've never stopped lifting, right? Never. And the other thing is I was feeling like shit. And when I realized that my testosterone was okay, not the best, but it's okay, I had stopped taking magnesium. And for me, and for a lot of people, what they would notice is if you have anxiety, you get depressed, you feel like shit, you're not sleeping good, you take a proper magnesium, especially if you're combining it with vitamin D, does wonders for you, dude.
That is funny. I take magnesium and vitamin D.
What kind of magnesium?
I don't know. Wife buys it in a white.
Yeah, you don't want magnesium oxide. So make sure it's not oxide. That's the form that your body uses the least of. Like I take magnesium glycinate, and there's a few other forms.
I think it is glycinate.
Okay, good.
Glycinate
and you want to be careful not to take it with other things because your body will not absorb it well. But with vitamin D, it absorbs it better, right? As soon as I got back on the magnesium, I woke up happy every morning. It was like an antidepressant drug. You know,
you were pretty like trim, like you were really cut.
Yeah, in the summertime, I'll take some of the fat off, and I don't change my workouts. I just change the way I eat because I like to eat and I like to drink.
How often do you work out?
I like to work out every day. I don't anymore because I'll do something every day, but when it comes to lifting weights, I'm 51 years old and I'm not on anything. My body doesn't recover anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tell people what I do in the gym, they don't believe me, but I'll make this quick and I won't drag it on. I graduated high school at 6'1", 135 pounds.
Yeah.
Super skinny. I spent 2 years in the gym, killing myself every day. I got no bigger. Then I looked around at everyone else in the gym and I saw the same people doing the same shit I was. No one looked different.
Yeah.
So then I started studying the science behind it. And I was turned on to Mike Mentzer, who all of a sudden is making a comeback, and he's all over TikTok. Even though
volume guy,
he's no opposite, low volume hit, right? So Mike Mentzer died several years ago. So I started studying Mike Mentzer. So I went from working out 2 to 3 hours a day to going to the gym, and my workouts were 15 minutes long. Like
high reps, low weight,
very heavy, very intense, but in and out of the gym. And I'd get done with my workout, and I'd go hang out on the couch, and I'd eat a whole pizza. Right?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. That was it. Mentally, that was very hard. I gained 90 pounds in 2 years.
Are you taking like big rests between sets? Like, what are you doing?
No, pretty intense.
Like 30 seconds?
Yeah, pretty intense, right? Nice. So I started blowing up instantly when I gave my body the rest. And so now I guess it's been about a year where I said, you know what? I'm going back to my high intensity, low volume training. So for example, if I have to do, let's say my next workout is back and chest, right?
Yeah.
I'll warm up with a set of cable crossovers, and then I'll go as heavy as I can on a set of cable. I mean, it's heavy and past failure till like I'm about to throw up, right? And then from there, I go to incline press and machine, not even free weights, a machine, because I could utilize it more. And I will do one set till I can't move it anymore, and I may take a 5 to 10 second break and knock out 1 more 2 reps.
So you're supersetting?
No, not even. I'm just like extending that one set by giving myself enough breather to keep going. Supersetting is when you go to another exercise.
You're right. Yes.
That's my whole chest workout. It's 2 sets.
2 sets. One to fail, and then the other one 10 seconds, and then just go again.
And it is to fail, right? Yeah. But I give myself, and then when I go to back, I warm up with a set of lat pull downs, palms forward, and then I go super heavy, 1 set again till failure. And everything on the negative is slow and controlled.
Okay, yeah.
There's no swinging weights, right? In the past year, dude, my strength, because I was working out every day because I love to work out.
Sure.
But it doesn't benefit me anymore. I'm 51 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I stay unrecovered, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I went back to doing this, mentally it's hard because you're in.
Feel like you're not doing enough.
It's hard when you're doing it, but it's like, I like being in the gym, but my strength is gone. You're not supposed to be able to get so much stronger at my age without doing anything.
Yeah.
And I literally, like I said, people that I showed them my test results, like, guys, if I did it, I would tell you. At 51, you're right, I should be, because I know I'd feel a lot better, right? But the majority of people in exercise, just like in the dog world, do the exact opposite that they should be doing. And I talk to these guys, I see young guys all the time, 4 sets on this exercise, 4 sets on this exercise. I said, do you realize you're doing what a professional bodybuilder does that lives that lifestyle and takes a lot of drugs?
Ton of shit. Yeah.
Like the whole body part split, the bro split, that was created when people started doing steroids.
Yes.
Back in the golden era of bodybuilding, before steroids were real big, people did full body workouts. They worked every single part of their body 2 to 3 times a week. And they were brutal workouts, but they knocked it out and then gave their bodies rest. It wasn't until steroids started playing a role in this stuff that people can go in and annihilate and do 30 sets for their chest.
Yeah.
Steroids don't make you bigger. They make you recover, right? So no matter what you're doing, when you're in the gym, you're not getting bigger or stronger. Yeah. You're just stimulating some muscles, and then you improve, you grow when you're sleeping and when you're eating. So doing all this extra junk bullshit, if you could do, people do high intensity interval workout, say on a spin bike or sprints, right? And they'll tell me, yeah, I do like 60-second intervals. Like, and I say, high intensity, 60 seconds? I was like, you're not doing high intensity. They go, no, I am. I do that for 60 seconds and then I rest for 6. I said, no, you can't do high intensity for 60 seconds. And if I'm on a spin bike and I'm doing HIIT training, high intensity interval training, I can go for 10, maybe 15 seconds, but I'm going to where I'm about to pass out and fall off the bike in those 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And what some people think is hard is not hard. That's the difference, right? So my wife, who did very well in fitness and everything, when she got into lifting weights with me, even though she was doing like aerobics and things like that when we got working out, what I realized, she didn't know what it was to go hard because no one ever showed her. That sounds so pornographic. I'm gonna hear it. Whatever. Think what you want.
His wife. Don't say anything.
But like when I showed her what she's capable of, holy shit! And she's a really hard worker, right? My son, who likes to work out and does work out a lot, I put him through a workout last week, 1 set per body part. But I put him through the thing, and he does work hard, but he didn't know how much more he's capable of. So now when he starts off with a set of leg presses and he thinks he's done, no, buddy, we're going to keep going. Yeah. And we're going to keep going. And when you can't go no more, I'm going to lift the weight for you and you're going to lower it, but you're going to hold it in that halfway position and we're going to keep going. When he was done with that workout, he was like, that was the worst thing I ever did in my life. He's like, that was so hard. I'm like, that's how you have to work out. That's how you're going to see the results, right?
With low time investment.
What's that?
With a lower time investment.
Yes, absolutely. So how long was your training session with your dog earlier, which was beautiful, very productive?
7 minutes.
7 minutes, full training session.
Yeah.
But yet people that don't have dogs of your caliber and energy want to go out and train their dog for 30 minutes. Oh, God. What are you doing in 30 minutes? You're wasting your dog's time.
Yes.
There's no motivation there. You had a tremendous training session in 7 minutes.
Yeah, I couldn't have done much more.
That's it. I took out one of the Dobermans I was working with recently, had a beautiful training session. It was 1 minute and 49 seconds.
Boom. Perfect.
And we were done. We celebrated. We had a good time. But you're going to go out and train your dog that has for 30 minutes? And you think your dog's learning something? Come on, guys. You got to learn.
I think it's just like working out. People have assigned value based on time spent versus productivity.
Absolutely. 100%.
As to say, I've been training dogs for 30 years, and yet you still suck.
I know a lot of people that have been training for 40 years that are pretty bad trainers.
Yeah.
You
should do something else, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But that's my workout spiel. I know, like, I could change someone's appearance very quickly, and they're going to think I should be doing more.
In the interest of time, say maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 things someone should do with their diet if they want to get as cut as you were. Like, I saw it. I was almost messaged you, but I'm like, He's probably getting hammered right now with messages. I'm not going to bother him. At some point, I'll see him in real life and I'll ask him.
Processed food is a killer.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, right? So people, get into these fad diets. I'm big into fasting. I love fasting.
I'm fasting right now.
Yeah, like I love fasting. Like I got big into intermittent fasting a few years ago. They wanted to take my spleen out. I was super unhealthy. I was having a lot of pain. My primary care doctor, he's a super health nut. He's a triathlete and shit. And he won't even take you on as a patient until you get your gut right. So when the other doctors wanted to take out my spleen, I went to see my doctor and he was like, you know what you need to do. He's telling me I was fat.
Yeah.
He's like, you do me a favor. He wanted me to eat more of a paleo style diet, right? He goes, could you give me 30 days? I was like, sure. So I take things to the extreme. So I said, you know what? I've been studying this fasting stuff for a while. This was before it was a thing and people were doing it. I said, I'm going to combine it with the paleo style of eating. And I did. And I didn't change my workouts, and I lost 30 pounds in 32 days.
That's really low carbs, eh? The paleo?
No, I was eating sweet potatoes and white potatoes, just not a ton of that stuff. I could tell you almost every day my diet was, pretty high in fat and protein, but I had my sweet potatoes and shit like that, a little bit of fruit. So I'm not high carb, but not no carb either, right? And when I went to see him, he was like, what did you do? I said, well, I did what you told me, but then I got into the fasting too.
1 or 2 meals a day.
And that I was eating, at that time, I was eating 2 meals a day. Mm-hmm. Like at lunchtime, I'd have a big giant, maybe say a salad with chicken in it and bacon and cheese and olives and stuff like that. And then at dinner, I was having a big T-bone steak and some sweet potatoes. Very simple. But then there was a time I started adding bulletproof coffee to it in the morning, which technically isn't fasting, but when you have that high fat from grass-fed butter and MCT oil, you're not spiking your insulin.
You're not.
No, your insulin level's staying pretty much flatline.
So does your body think it's fasting still?
Technically, it's not fasting, right? Okay. But normally, if you eat food, like almost anything you eat, including protein, you're going to get a little bit of an insulin spike. Even if you eat a steak, you'll get a little bit of a spike. Not much. Not like if you eat some sugar. But with the MCT oil, with the pure fat like that, you're not getting, and I was doing that for a majority of the time when I lost all that weight, right? But it would give me such a buzz from the high of the bulletproof coffee. I was hooked on it, and it's delicious, right? And I was working out fast 20 hours into a fast sometimes and feeling better than I ever have in my life. I did a 72-hour recently.
Wow.
I did a 72-hour. I've done 48 hours before fairly easily. I did a 72 hours, and the second day was much harder than the third. I could have gone another day or two after I hit the 72 hours. But it was around the 2-day mark where I was like, I'm fucking hungry.
That's impressive.
I'm really hungry. Yeah.
Tell you what, since I took up intermittent fasting, I'm a Muslim, so we got to fast anyway for 30 days.
Yeah.
It makes that 30 days way easier.
Oh, dude, I can go without eating. Like when my first day driving up here, I stopped to eat. I ate the first time. It was 8 o'clock at night. It was about 24 hours since I had eaten, like nothing. Because what happens is you might get a little hungry at the 12-hour mark, 13-hour mark.
Yeah.
Once you get over the hump, your energy goes through the roof.
Yeah.
And you're not hungry. I only forced myself to eat it, and I wasn't even hungry because I knew I was going to go to bed and then wake up starving,
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to just run over Texas Roadhouse real quick and have some food. But if I'm serious about changing the way I look, like getting lean, then I normally won't do it through fasting because I want to get like 30 to 40 grams of protein in me as soon as I wake up, like immediately. Like one of the first things, you want to keep your protein high enough to maintain muscle and keep your metabolism up. And then honestly, when it comes to carbs and fat, as long as your protein is high enough and you're in the right calorie range, it doesn't fucking matter how many carbs or fats you're getting. It just doesn't matter. That's proven. Like that's science, but you have to have because most people, look, Ozempic is the big thing now, right? People are losing a ton of weight on Ozempic, like big time, like, because it's killing their hunger and they're dropping weight like crazy. But these people need to start researching a little deeper. They're losing a ton of muscle mass that they're not going to get back. And then what happens is when people do all these different fad and crash diets, yeah, they lose weight. Any diet, you're going to lose weight in the beginning.
Sure.
But you're going to lose muscle mass a lot easier than you use body fat. And then the second you start eating even close to normal,
It comes right back, baby.
and your fat percentage is higher because now you've already lost the muscle. So you're fatter than you were before.
There's no easy way.
There's not.
It's easy, but it's not.
Yeah, it's basic. It's very basic.
Yeah.
Like the rules of dog training and fitness are very similar. It's
No
very
shortcuts.
it's very basic, right? But if you try to take these shortcuts, there's downsides to it. So listen, I've done so many things bad in my life, but I've never been into any of the drugs or anything. Like smoked a little bit of weed when I was young, but not even much of that, right? It just, even I grew up in New Jersey, the home of the Guido Geek jerk off. Everyone was on steroids.
Yeah.
Everyone. I'd go in the gym and it was very frustrating to see a guy that was 140 pounds and 6 months later, he's 230 pounds ripped.
Yeah.
I never had the urge to do it because I also saw what it did to people. And I've never been scared of hard work. I don't like cheating, right? I just don't like cheating. If I did it, I wouldn't hide it. That's the difference. I have no problem with someone doing it, but why would you deny it if you do it?
Yeah.
Just own up to it. You know what I mean? That makes all the sense to me.
That actually, that takes a force of will, like to see people getting those results. And then you're just like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Look, when you see someone with veins in their biceps the size of garden hoses and they're shredded, the human body doesn't get like that without drugs, just so you know.
Oh.
So like you were very nice giving me compliments that I was like ripped, but I wasn't compared to,
not like
you know what I mean? For the average person, I still had plenty of body fat on.
Yeah.
If I did, even if I did TRT, I can get pretty damn lean.
Oh, yeah.
Like the leanest I ever got, I got down to 199, but this was like right before my daughter was born, lean enough to where I had veins in my stomach.
Wow.
But I wasn't big. I was lean. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything.
You look bigger when you're lean.
Big time. You know, but being my wife, we used to just be real vain, and we were going to Vegas. So we're like, okay, time to get ripped for Vegas, right? Yeah. And so we both were like in the best shape of our lives, man, just for pure vanity to look good in dress clothes going to the club.
Why not?
That was it, you know?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think
we talked about everything we could.
about everything. You know what? I think you're somebody, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. You're going to teach me something, whether it's today, tomorrow, a few months from now, a few years from now. I have a feeling you're going to teach me something.
Oh, you're going to teach me something too, buddy. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, we're about to go eat, so someone's going to learn something. But I'm serious. I think you're going to teach me something because you've got some. I like how you think about it, and sometimes you did in the past, like you would like do a video or something, and like you would say something that would aggravate me. But then I was recently thinking about it. I'm like, why would that aggravate me? Because there's a lot of people that say shit that I don't agree with, that I don't get aggravated by. I'm like,
I'm good at that.
Maybe he's aggravating me because there's a subconscious part of me that's saying, this man's got something to fucking tell you.
Well, I tell people all the time, I get a lot of people at seminars that go, man, like you're so much more likable in person. Then I was like, listen, if I knew me on just online, I wouldn't like me either. You know, I'm very opinionated, and I know sometimes it comes off as arrogant, and I'm not, but I do care about the everyday dog owner because I care about these animals.
Yeah.
And I hate them being fed a bunch of shit.
It's never been that, though. I never thought you were douche.
Yeah. I appreciate
I never thought that. Like, I always thought, oh, he's a good guy, almost to the point where it's kind of annoying. You know, like, no, this guy is so fucking nice. You know, he's like really a nice guy, you know. It's funny, sometimes people say that about me. Oh, I thought you'd be douchier in person. I'm like, well, so I'll try to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, right? No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So if there was something you could tell me, and literally, obviously, we're going to put this in, something you've seen me do or seen me say, one thing to change, tell me one thing I should change.
I don't think there's anything. If there was, I would. I really would, because I have told people that, but I think the best thing about you is you're authentic. And when you're authentic, you're going to say the wrong things and you're going to do the wrong things. But no one learns shit by someone who walks a fine line and is scared. Listen, like I have a problem with the politic thing. I understand why people keep that stuff out of their dog training. Like I've never talked politics with someone in dog training, right? Like it doesn't come up. We're all the same when we're working dogs. Not as seminars. People have opinions of me. They think they know my politics.
Sure.
Just because I may think one way about something. They have no idea who I really am, right? I'd rather know if I'm going to someone, I want to know who they really are, even if I don't agree with them.
Yes.
It's hard for me to respect someone that hides all that stuff just because they don't want to hurt their business. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe you're going to offend a lot of people, but at least they know they're getting the real you. It's no bullshit.
I'm the same. You know, I had a friend back in the day when I worked in I was a social services. I was working in social services for 10 years. And this guy was from South America. He wore the hat with the red star on it. Legit communist. But he was actually in the jungles fighting for what he believed in. He was one of those communist guerrillas.
That's
now,
right.
you know, he's all past that, but he still believes in the ideology of it.
Yeah.
And I respected him so much. And we got along so well.
Sure.
This fucking communist, because he was willing, he wasn't just like saying it.
That's right.
He believed it to the point where he was willing to put his life and limb on the line.
Right.
To you know, promote it, support it. And he hated the liberals.
Yeah.
He hated them. He's like, oh, they're all just coffee shop revolutionaries. Yeah, coffee shop revolutionaries. It's
So
like,
he's a smart guy too.
yeah, hated them all. He's like, hated all the liberals and all this crazy wokeism stuff.
Yeah.
Hardcore old fashioned commie.
Well,
Got along fine with them.
there's people that my wife will say to me. My wife rarely says anything bad about anyone. She'd be like, I don't understand why you give them the time of day. Like, that guy's an asshole. I'm like, yeah, but he's open about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can get along with someone I know who's an asshole. I have a problem with someone who's an asshole and hides it.
I hate that.
Yeah, as long as I know who you are. Like, I've liked people that no one else has liked. They're like, that guy's such an asshole. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's in the open. So how can I hate this guy? I love it.
There's been a few people.
Yeah.
Why are you friends with him?
Absolutely.
I'm like, hey, man, we just see eye to eye.
He's honest about who he is, you know, and I could respect that. You know, I like honesty in people, you know what I mean? And like I said, you've said things I know you were talking about that never bothered me. Like, I appreciated it because that always makes me look and, okay, is there something that and listen, I say things all the time where I'm like, I'm not happy I said that. I wish I didn't. Not because
100%.
Not because I offended someone, because I was trying. Yes, it was wrong, and I was trying to make a point that went very wrong. I wasn't good at expressing myself. You know?
Sometimes when you speak with authority and with true belief, you will make mistakes, but that's the price you pay.
Sure, absolutely.
And I've for sure said and done things I regret, and I'll admit I was wrong.
Yeah,
those things.
No, me too, for sure.
But I'm not going to change how I communicate.
No, me either. Me either.
Yeah.
Me either.
Well, Larry, I'd like to thank you. We've been talking.
Dude, I appreciate the opportunity. This is awesome.
I think it was good to meet you. Really.
Yeah, me too, man. I feel like I know you forever.
Awesome. Well, that's good. Hopefully, we'll definitely meet up again.
Yeah, I'd like to. I know
Small doggy world.
I know I could learn a lot from you, especially with the sport. So
I think you're going to teach me stuff too. And I'm not just saying that. I have a feeling you're gonna show me something I didn't know, or some things.
Well, I don't know about that, but
no pressure.
Yeah,
I'll just wait. It'll come.
That's what we do. We learn from each other, right? That's it.
100%.
For sure.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Appreciate you, buddy.
We're going to post your information below for all those people to find you, whether or not you want them to find you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be there. And Larry's going to be doing a seminar in Toronto. It's too late now. By the time this is out, he's already going to be back in the... hopefully. Either in jail or in the promised land. And I think we had a good discussion.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Good seminar. Good talk.
Yeah, for real.
All right, guys. That's a wrap. See you on the next one.
Thanks, buddy.